Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Invincibility starts with God-level selection. Chapter 41. Facing Chen Ji, who was almost losing his ability to resist, Guanlong felt almost no pressure at all. However, he felt a little uneasy in his heart. This sense of uneasiness does not come from the silence in front of me. It comes from Lin Yuan. Wang Jian, why haven't you come back yet? Could it be that something really happened? With his strength, there shouldn't be any surprises when dealing with a young boy who has just finished his martial arts exam. Guanlong was restless in his heart, and his attack became more and more violent. He wanted to get rid of Chen Ji in front of him as soon as possible, so he went over to see what Wang Jian was up to. I won't let you pass. Chen Ji was covered in blood, and his consciousness had begun to gradually blur, but his willpower still tenaciously supported him standing. A warrior, even if he dies standing, he will not live on his knees. Guanlong laughed angrily. He obviously did not expect that a half-disabled Chen Ji would delay him for so long. Since you want to die, then I will make it happen for you. However, just when Guanlong was about to kill him, a head was thrown towards him. Guanlong's reaction speed was extremely fast, and he reached out directly to take the head. But the next second, Guanlong was stunned on the spot. Because he discovered that what he was holding in his hand, was Wang Jian's head. Wang Jian is dead. Guanlong looked up and found that standing not far from him was Lin Yuan with a calm face. He is the first. Next, it's your turn. Lin Yuan said calmly, but there seemed to be an endless chill hidden in his calm tone. Chen Ji was covered in blood, but after seeing Lin Yuan, he still managed to squeeze out a bright smile. I knew. You are not the kind of person who abandons his companions. You will definitely come back. After Chen Ji finished speaking these words intermittently, it seemed that even the last bit of strength had been drained out of him. His body trembled and he was about to fall to the ground. Fortunately, Lin Yuan quickly came around behind him and supported him. You have done well enough. Leave the rest to me. Lin Yuan helped Chen Ji aside to ensure that he would not be affected by the ensuing battle. Then, he walked back to Guanlong again and said calmly, it's time to hit the road. Arrogant. Guanlong's face was distorted, with veins popping out on his forehead. Half of it was because of Lin Yuan's provocation, and the other half was because of Wang Jian's death. Although Wang Jian is usually not lovable, after all, he can be regarded as his brother who has been with him for many years. Old grudges have not been avenged, but new grudges have been added. Now Guanlong is extremely angry. I want you to die. Guanlong roared, took the lead and attacked Lin Yuan. I fight. At this time, a figure suddenly flashed past Guanlong. As the shadow of the knife flashed by, a soft sound came out. A good head fell to the ground. Until his death, Guanlong didn't understand why Lin Yuan was so fast, even so fast that he couldn't see clearly with his naked eyes. Until the moment of his death, Guanlong's eyes still showed resentment and unwillingness. Lin Yuan kicked his head open and said coldly, it's really an advantage for you to kill you so easily. Subsequently, Lin Yuan did not dare to waste time and rushed directly in the direction of Shen Xiao. You must know that among them, Shen Xiao is under the greatest pressure. Although he had Yun Tingting assisting him, he still had to face Han Dong, a 4th-level peak warrior, and the 5th-level alien lion mastiff on his own. However, when Lin Yuan arrived, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. The Shen Xiao in front of him, although covered in blood, still stood like a war. No, to be precise, Shen Xiao now looks more like Shira. The god Shira crawled out of hell. Lin Yuan could clearly see that although Shen Xiao was covered in injuries, his momentum remained intact and he even tended to become more courageous as he fought. The moment he saw Shen Xiao, even Lin Yuan was touched. This is the real warrior. In the face of adversity, you can show your strength as a warrior. In front of him, Han Dong frowned. Obviously, he did not expect that Shen Xiao would be so difficult. Even if he teamed up with the lion mastiff, the other party could persist for such a long time. Lin Yuan quickly came to Yun Tingting's side. At this time, she had exhausted all her mental energy and her face was extremely pale. Shen Xiao's ability to endure till now is partly due to her contribution. How is Shen Xiao doing? Yun Tingting glanced at him, and a hint of joy flashed on her face. You are finally here. Originally, we were almost unable to hold on anymore, but luckily Shen Xiao broke through before the battle and became a 5th-level warrior. Lin Yuan was slightly startled. Shen Xiao. Has he broken through to the 5th-level warrior? Sure enough, between life and death, there are great terrors and great opportunities. It is a blessing that Shen Xiao can break through in such a desperate situation. Okay, you can rest, and leave the rest to me. Lin Yuan turned his head and looked at Han Dong, who was fighting with Shen Xiao with cold eyes. The last one. Lin Yuan took a deep breath, and his figure suddenly rose up. All his speed exploded in an instant, shooting out like an angry arrow from a string. At the same time, Lin Yuan shouted directly, "Shen Xiao, do it!" Shen Xiao's eyes moved slightly, and the tacit understanding between his teammates made him instantly understand Lin Yuan's intention. Han Dong was shocked. What on earth do Wang Jian and Guanlong do for food? Why did you let this kid come over? Lin Yuan's speed was so fast that even Han Dong almost didn't react. Fortunately, it's just a close call. As a 4th-level peak warrior, he naturally has 2 brushes. When Lin Yuan slashed towards his abdomen with a knife, Han Dong immediately stopped and leaned to the left, trying to avoid his knife. However, what Han Dong didn't expect was, Lin Yuan's sword was not intended to kill him. Just to force out his weakness. Shen Xiao on the side has been waiting for a long time. The blood armor was directly on his right arm again, covering it with an extra layer, as if it had condensed into an armor. Shen Xiao's punch hit Han Dong's face with the force of a mountain collapse. Han Dong looked horrified, but found that he had no time to turn around. This punch, he can't avoid it. Die. Shen Xiao punched down and murmured softly, as if an indifferent king was pronouncing the death of the sinner. Pong. With just one punch, Han Dong's head was completely shattered. At this point, Han Dong, Guanlong, and Wang Jian have all been killed. Lin Yuan didn't feel any guilt in his heart, because these people deserved their crimes. After Han Dong's death, the remaining lion mastiff was naturally no longer a threat. Shen Xiao has broken through to the 5th-level warrior, and Lin Yuan is in a state of fusion with the shadow cat demon. With the 2 men joining forces, the lion mastiff was completely defeated by them in less than 3 minutes. After the crisis was completely resolved, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The duration of the alien beast fusion card has expired, and the purple beast markings on Lin Yuan's face slowly faded away. Even if the fusion time ends, the shadow cat demon still retains 10% of the power in Lin Yuan's body, which has greatly improved his strength again. Shen Xiao looked at him and said, "I will take Yun Tingting and Chen Ji to that building first and bandage their wounds. You stay here first and deal with these corpses." Lin Yuan nodded and responded, "Okay." After the war, everyone finally had a chance to rest. After Shen Xiao left with Chen Ji and Yun Tingting, Lin Yuan also began to deal with the bodies on the ground. In fact, there is no need to deal with them at all. All they need to do is pile their corpses in a corner. The smell of blood will naturally attract the surrounding strange beasts to come and eat. Just as Lin Yuan was dragging Guanlong's body, he suddenly discovered that there was something in his chest. Lin Yuan thought about it and took it out directly, and found that it was a string of pendants. Within the pendant, there is a black crystal, about the size of a dove egg. Furthermore, there is an exquisite mechanism on the pendant. As soon as Lin Yuan pressed the mechanism, a metal film covered the black crystal. What exactly is this? Lin Yuan played with the pendant in his hand. He always felt that it should be more than just a decoration. Roar. At this moment, a roar of beasts suddenly sounded in his ears. A red wild wolf was standing not far from Lin Yuan, salivating in a fierce look on his face. Lin Yuan frowned slightly. The 4th-order alien beast, the red flame wolf. Obviously, it was attracted by the smell here. Lin Yuan took a deep breath. It seems that next, there will be another battle. At this moment, Lin Yuan's finger accidentally touched the mechanism on the pendant. Accompanied by a soft, pop, sound, the metal film retracted into the pendant again, revealing the black crystals inside. The 4th-level red flame wolf in front of him seemed to feel the most terrifying thing in the world. The hair on his body sprang up, he howled miserably, turned his head and ran away crazily. Lin Yuan was stunned. Has this red flame wolf seen a ghost? Suddenly, Lin Yuan seemed to notice something and subconsciously looked at the pendant in his hand. To be more precise, it is the black crystal inside the pendant. He had some doubts. Could it be the aura emitted by the black crystal that scared off the red flame wolf in front of him? You must know that alien beasts are extremely ferocious and unafraid of death. Even if the martial arts master is at full strength, he can only suppress the beasts below the 5th level at most, and it is even difficult to scare them away. And the black crystal in his hand, just the breath escaping, scared the red flame wolf in front of him and ran away like crazy. It seems that this black crystal must have something special about it. After thinking for a while, Lin Yuan quickly thought of another thing. That is, Guanlong most likely relied on the special effect of this black crystal to successfully attract the lion mastiff. You must know that alien beasts that fall into a violent state after inhaling the crazy blood incense will attack all surrounding creatures indiscriminately. But Guanlong was not chased by the lion mastiff, which is enough to explain some problems. Lin Yuan held the pendant in his hand tightly and asked softly, "System, do you know the origin of this crystal?" After a long while, there was still no response. Lin Yuan's face turned dark. This broken system basically ignores him except for letting him make choices every day. Lin Yuan thought about how other people's systems were very good and could almost be said to be responsive to requests. Why did he feel like he was having trouble with his hips? It seems that the function of this black crystal needs to be explored slowly by oneself. Thinking of this, Lin Yuan turned off the mechanism again and put the pendant into the system space. Then he picked up the body of the lion mastiff and walked towards the building where Shen Xiao and the others were. Yun Tingting is closing her eyes to rest. She has obviously recovered some mental strength and her face is much rosy. Although Chen Ji was still in a coma, fortunately, he was not fatally injured. He only suffered from loss of strength and excessive blood loss. With the physique of a 4th-level warrior, there won't be much of a problem. Shen Xiao stopped the bleeding, simply bandaged the wound, and fed him a bottle of medicine to restore qi and blood. "Get ready and take Chen Ji back with you." Looking at Lin Yuan walking in, Shen Xiao said directly. Lin Yuan nodded and said, "Okay, let them rest for a while, and then we'll set off. I'll carry Chen Ji on my back. Yun Tingting, you will go to the city later and contact the warrior hospital. We will send Chen Ji there for treatment first." Although they only came for a short 2 days. But the current situation clearly makes it impossible to continue staying in the wilderness area. However, their trip to the wilderness area was not without gains. They can get 480,000 from Mr. Gui. And the body of this 5th-level lion mastiff can be sold for a high price of 600,000 to 700,000 yuan at least if you take it back. If these incomes are pooled, one can even buy a smaller house in the suburbs of Junhaicheng. Of course, the one who gained the most was undoubtedly Shen Xiao. He took this opportunity to successfully break through to the realm of a 5th-level warrior. He is only one step away from becoming a martial arts master. To be able to possess such strength at such a young age, even among the top martial arts universities in Yanjing and Shanghai, he can be regarded as a proud martial artist. Although Lin Yuan's strength has improved a lot, there is still a certain gap between him and Shen Xiao now. Furthermore, Lin Yuan's biggest gain this time is not an improvement in strength. Instead, Lin Yuan turned his palm and took out the pendant directly from the system space. On the pendant, the black crystal wrapped in a metal film looks deep and mysterious. He always felt that this black crystal was definitely not an ordinary thing. The journey home was calmer than expected. Along the way, we didn't encounter any strange beasts. While walking on the road, Shen Xiao suddenly said, "This time, it's all thanks to you. If it weren't for you, we might all have to die here." Shen Xiao said it very sincerely. If Lin Yuan hadn't dealt with Wang Jian first and rushed over to support him immediately after killing Guanlong, even if he had broken through to the 5th-level warrior, he would never have been able to sustain it for a long time. Lin Yuan shook his head and said, "This incident was originally caused by me, but I should be blamed for causing you trouble. Those people originally came for me." Shen Xiao smiled and said no more. He has a taciturn nature, and there are some things that he doesn't need to say. But everyone can feel it in their hearts. After this battle, their relationship with each other became even closer. If we say that before, they were just a temporary hunting team. So now, we can be said to be comrades like Pao Zi. Soon, they returned the same way and arrived at the north gate of Junhai City. Even the warriors guarding the city looked at them with surprise in their eyes. Such a few boys who were just starting out and still had childish looks on their faces actually killed a 5th-level lion mastiff. Okay, Lin Yuan, you go back first. After entering the city, Yun Tingting said, Shen Xiao and I will send Chen Ji to the warrior hospital. You should go back and rest first. By the way, remember to leave your bank card number. When we dispose of the body of this lion mastiff, we will put your share on your card later. Lin Yuan was not pretentious. He nodded and said, then I'll leave first and come to the warrior hospital to see you tomorrow. Among the four, Chen Ji and Shen Xiao both had injuries that needed treatment. The only ones who were not seriously injured were Lin Yuan and Yun Tingting. One only suffered some superficial injuries, while the other just suffered from excessive mental energy consumption. Since Yun Tingting will be responsible for taking care of them, Lin Yuan feels much more relieved. After parting ways with the three of them, Lin Yuan did not choose to go home, because he had some things to do before going home. Soon, Lin Yuan came to a grocery store. He didn't buy anything else, except a dozen sacks of feed and a silver fox mask. Finally, under the surprised look of the shop owner, Lin Yuan paid the money and hurriedly left the shop. The reason why he bought masks and so many sacks naturally had a purpose. The silver fox mask is naturally to conceal his true identity. The sack is meant to contain the large amount of exotic beast materials he has stored in the system space. After all, you must not let others know that you have an independent space. If someone is interested, even if he is dissected directly, it is not impossible. Lin Yuan is not very strong right now, so he must be as careful and low-key as possible in everything he does. After walking around for a long time, Lin Yuan finally came to an inaccessible alley. After ensuring that there were no cameras around, he began to take out the alien materials in batches from the system space and put them into sacks. When they hunted exotic beasts, there were too many discarded scraps. Lin Yuan, based on the principle of never wasting anything, collected all these materials. In the end, 6 sacks were filled. Lin Yuan put on a silver fox mask to cover up his appearance, then walked out of the alley carrying 6 sacks without changing his expression. Within 10 minutes, Lin Yuan arrived at the door of a martial arts gym. This martial arts gym is a branch of the Junhai Martial Arts Gym. The person in charge of the reception was a gentle girl. She walked up slowly and asked, "Excuse me, sir, do you need any help?" Lin Yuan deliberately lowered his voice and said in a deep voice, "I am a senior student of the martial arts school, and I am here to sell exotic beast materials." "Okay, please perform fingerprint verification." The girl took out a small instrument and asked Lin Yuan to authenticate it. Lin Yuan successfully passed the verification after checking the Hide Identity column. In their era, warriors have always been a symbol of freedom and strength. Even if Lin Yuan joins Junhai Martial Arts School, the latter will not impose any restrictions on him and will even pay special attention to protecting his personal privacy. As long as Lin Yuan is unwilling to reveal his identity, other than the headquarters of Junhai Martial Arts Hall, which can check this record, no branch hall has the authority to investigate Lin Yuan's identity. This is exactly what Lin Yuan wants. "Hello, this way." After passing the verification, the girl became more and more respectful. After all, the other party does not look very old. To be able to become a senior student of Junhai Martial Arts School at such an age is enough to show his high potential. Under the guidance of the girl, Lin Yuan quickly came to the department responsible for trading exotic animal materials. Sitting inside was a slightly fat middle-aged man. When he saw someone coming, he immediately stood up to greet Lin Yuan. "This little brother is here to sell exotic beast materials." Lin Yuan nodded slightly. "Yes. They are all scraps. After reading them, let me give you a price." Subsequently, Lin Yuan let go of his hand, and the 6 sacks still fell to the ground. The slightly fat middle-aged man was slightly startled. To be honest, this was the first time he had seen someone come to trade alone with so many large bags of exotic animal materials. Then, he stepped forward, opened the sack, and carefully picked it out, without paying any attention to the residual smell of blood on these exotic beast materials. After reading it, the fat middle-aged man felt a little helpless. This guy is really honest. These 6 sacks are indeed filled with scraps from exotic animals, which are materials that are not particularly valuable. However, although it is not particularly valuable, it cannot support the large quantity. The slightly fat middle-aged man made a rough estimate. If these exotic animal materials were subjected to some simple processing, he could earn at least 5 to 600,000. Thinking of this, the fat middle-aged man rubbed his hands and said directly, "This little brother, since you are a senior student of our martial arts school, I will not play tricks with you. To be honest, these exotic beast materials are not particularly valuable. They were all packaged and sold to me for a flat price of 300,000 yuan. Lin Yuan thought for a moment, and finally nodded, "Deal." The reason why Lin Yuan didn't bargain much was because he knew that the other party did consider his status as a senior student and gave him a slight preferential treatment. If these scraps were traded on the black market, they could only be sold for about 200,000 yuan at most. This is the benefit that being a senior student of Junhai Martial Arts School brings to Lin Yuan. Seeing that Lin Yuan was also a cheerful person, the fat middle-aged man immediately laughed and took out a business card from his arms. "My name is Qian Long. If you don't mind, little brother, just call me Lao Qian. Since my little brother is also a member of Junhai Martial Arts School, then we are a family. If given the opportunity, we can cooperate more in the future." Lin Yuan took his business card and simply shook hands with the other person. "There will be opportunities. Happy cooperation." Qian Long smiled and said, "Happy cooperation." After the deal was concluded, Lin Yuan left the martial arts gym. As soon as he left his front leg, the notification tone of his cell phone rang on his back leg. The 300,000 that Qian Long promised was credited to his bank card every penny. Lin Yuan took a deep breath, feeling somewhat uncontrollably excited. No matter what, this is the first pot of gold he has earned. An ordinary student who just graduated from high school received 300,000 yuan at a time. If he said he was not excited, that would be a lie. If he hadn't gotten the system, Lin Yuan probably didn't know how long it would have taken him to earn the 300,000. Subsequently, without any hesitation, Lin Yuan entered his parents' bank card numbers directly into the transfer interface and transferred 150,000 yuan to each of them. Lin Yuan didn't keep any of this money for himself. As a son of man, you should fulfill your filial piety. My parents have worked hard for me for so many years, and it's time to enjoy the blessings. What's more, what he sold was only the part of the exotic beast materials that he took into the system space. When Shen Xiao and the others get the money, he will be able to get a large share of the money. The next day, Lin Yuan rushed to Junhai City No. 3 Warrior Hospital early in the morning. Chen Ji and Shen Xiao were both treated in this hospital. Shen Xiao was fine, with only a few fractures, so he simply put on a few bandages. The recovery ability of a 5th-level warrior is very strong, and minor injuries such as fractures can be healed within a few days. In comparison, Chen Ji looks much miserable. I saw that his whole body was covered with bandages, as if he had been wrapped into a mummy. "How is it going? Can you recover before school starts?" Lin Yuan smiled and asked, "Do you really want this honor to attend the opening ceremony?" Chen Ji rolled his eyes and said angrily, "Can't you just expect me to get better? The doctor said that as long as I receive half a month of treatment, I will be able to fully recover." What a coincidence. The 4 of them, when they filled out their application forms, all of them chose Wuhan University in the Magic City. In other words, after the semester started, they were still studying at the same Wuhan University. Actually, Chen Ji originally wanted to apply for Yanjing Wuhan University. Unfortunately, Yanjing Wuhan University still has requirements for scores in the literary test. Chen Ji failed to meet the standard, so he had to settle for the next best thing. At this moment, Yun Tingting came over and said with a smile, "Lin Yuan, the body of the lion mastiff has been disposed of, and the ghost master's money has been received. The total is 1.1 million. After deducting medical expenses, it's exactly 1 million. The 4 of us will share it equally, 250,000 yuan each. Here is this card for you, it contains exactly 250,000 yuan. Lin Yuan took the card and asked doubtfully, "Wouldn't Shen Xiao pay more?" You must know that Shen Xiao is the organizer of the hunting team and the strongest combat force in their team. When hunting exotic beasts, he is responsible for most of the main attacks. Even if it is distributed according to work, Shen Xiao should get a few % more. However, Yun Tingting curled her lips and said, I proposed it to him. But it's not like you don't know that that guy has a very stubborn temper and insists on dividing it equally between 4 people. I can't get him to do it, so I'll just do what he said. Lin Yuan laughed dumbly. Then say thank you to him for me. You're welcome. At this moment, Shen Xiao's voice suddenly sounded behind the two of them. Yun Tingting was startled, turned around, and said angrily, Shen Xiao, you are a ghost. You don't make any noise when you walk. Lin Yuan smiled and asked, how long will it take to be discharged from the hospital? Shen Xiao replied, if the recovery is good, it will be in about 4 days. That's good, have a good rest. Lin Yuan said. Next, we may have to wait until school starts before we meet again. Shen Xiao nodded and suddenly changed the topic. Lin Yuan, I have been here for so many years, and you are the first person that I can't understand. Lin Yuan was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, is this a compliment? Shen Xiao's expression was indifferent. Even so. That's really flattering. Lin Yuan turned his head and looked out the window at the blue and white sky. After having the selection system, his life trajectory has been completely changed. Shen Xiao, who was once number 1 in the heavenly ranking, was someone he could only look up to. But now, Shen Xiao said the words, I can't see through you, in front of him. Some things in life are really amazing. 1.5 months later, the back-to-school season is officially here. As early as 10 days ago, Shen Xiao, Chen Ji and Yun Tingting rushed to the Magic City in advance on the grounds that they were familiar with the school. Lin Yuan, on the other hand, simply wanted to spend more time with his parents, so he delayed setting off until now. Under the afterglow of the setting sun, Lin Yuan saluted and boarded the train to the Magic City, which was a departure from the city where he had lived for many years. The train officially started. All the scenery, like a revolving lantern, began to move backwards. Lin Yuan was sitting on his seat, with a brand new alloy sword beside him. Because he is a warrior, he is allowed to bring weapons on the train. This alloy sword was made by Lin Yuan according to his own style. The material cost and processing fee totaled more than 200,000. It is no exaggeration to say that almost most of the 250,000 he was allocated was spent on this sword. Lin Yuan was not reluctant to give up on this. If you want to do your job, you must first sharpen your tools. For warriors, as long as they can enhance their own strength, no matter how much money they spend, it is worth it. And this alloy sword also did not disappoint Lin Yuan. Its sharpness is enough to easily tear the fur of a 5th-level beast. If the user is strong enough, he can even hurt a 6th-order beast. In this era where strange beasts are rampant, traveling is extremely difficult. All transportation trunk lines require the Ministry of Armed Forces to spend a lot of money and manpower to maintain them. Furthermore, there are dedicated warriors responsible for clearing away the strange beasts around the traffic arteries. Fortunately, strange beasts of level 7 or above possess extremely high intelligence. They know where the bottom line is for humanity. Therefore, they will not take the initiative to attack human traffic arteries unless necessary. Because the consequences are beyond their imagination. Back then, a magic-patterned python that had just broken through to the 9th level, because it ignored the rules set by the strong humans, unscrupulously twisted a maglev train into scrap metal. No passenger in the train was spared. At first, this incident caused a huge sensation in human society. The Ministry of Military Affairs sent 3, king-level, experts to join forces to hunt down this python with magic patterns reaching the sky. In human society, only the 9th-level strong men can be called kings. Although this demonic python has broken through to the 9th level, under the pursuit and encirclement of 3 strong men of the same level, it finally ended up dead. Even its python skin was peeled off. Since then, there have been very few incidents of high-level alien beasts attacking human traffic arteries. However, even so, for the sake of safety, each train will be equipped with 3 accompanying martial arts masters to prevent alien beasts from attacking the train. But precisely because of this, the price of a ticket is extremely expensive, starting at tens of thousands. Fortunately, Lin Yuan can receive a free ticket with his admission notice. Otherwise, he might not be able to successfully arrive at Wuhan University in the magical capital. Since he was idle anyway, Lin Yuan simply opened his attribute panel to see what level his strength had reached. Host: Lin Yuan. Equal stage. Mid-4th stage. Qi and blood. 17,895 points. Psychic power. 7,700 Hz. Power. None. Special skills. 3 Magatama Sharingan, 7 styles of the Absolute Sword. Comprehensive evaluation. Kai Bai. Lin Yuan. It's okay if I was completely weak before. What does KB mean to you? System, I want to file a complaint against you. Lin Yuan was even a little unable to complain. But his strength has indeed become much stronger than when the martial arts test just ended. At the end of the martial arts test, he was only entering the 4th level, but now he has reached the middle of the 4th level. Even his own energy and blood have reached nearly 18,000 points. Just ignore the systematic review. This dog system never speaks human language anyway. Afterwards, Lin Yuan sat in his seat and closed his eyes slightly, wanting to take this opportunity to take a short nap. I don't know what Chu Yu's little girl is doing now. I haven't seen her for so many days, and I really miss her. Amidst a dull sound, the train slowly stopped at the platform. Passengers arriving at the station, please pay attention. Amidst the loud announcement on the platform, Lin Yuan walked out of the platform slowly with his own salute in hand. At this moment, a voice as clear as a nightingale sounded in his ears with great joy. Lin Yuan, I'm here. Look at me, look at me. After hearing this familiar voice, Lin Yuan was slightly startled. He subconsciously followed the sound and happened to see Chu Yu's pure and beautiful face. Perhaps it's because the weather in the Magic City is too hot. Chu Yu only wore a beige suspender belt today, paired with hip-covering denim shorts, which completely outlined her hot figure. This little goblin. Lin Yuan took a deep breath, suppressed the restlessness in his heart, and asked in confusion, "Why are you here?" Chu Yu stuck out his tongue playfully, raised his face, and said slightly proudly, "Of course I'm here to pick you up." "Come and pick me up." Lin Yuan was slightly stunned. "But how did you know I was coming on this bus today?" "HMPH, you don't want to tell me when you are coming, so I can only use some means to check it myself." "How is it? Am I good at it?" Chu Yu raised his neck like a kitten, with the 3 characters, "Please praise," written all over his face. Lin Yuan pinched her nose in a dumbfounded way and said, "I'm afraid of wasting your time. Besides, aren't we able to meet each other at school?" Chu Yu smiled charmingly, "But I can't wait to see you." The girl's cuteness is really lethal. Especially a goddess with an explosive figure like Chu Yu who is showing off her cuteness. Lin Yuan felt soft in his heart, patted her head, and said with a smile, "That's really troublesome for you. In return, I'll treat you to dinner tonight." "Great." Chu Yu immediately cheered. "By the way, what do you want to eat? I'd better accompany you back to school first, you're still holding it in hand to salute. Aren't you hungry now?" "Hee, I'm not hungry." The two chatted all the way and walked towards the exit of the station. At this moment, a young man with yellow hair, about the same age as them, suddenly stopped in front of them. Chu Yu's face immediately turned cold. "Xu Shining, didn't I tell you not to follow me?" The yellow-haired young man in front of him smiled and said, "Xiao Yu, please stop being so angry. How can I feel relieved when you come alone to pick up friends in such a mixed place?" Chu Yu raised his head and glanced at him, then a bright smile bloomed at the corner of his mouth, and he took Lin Yuan's arm. "Who said I am alone? I have my boyfriend to accompany me." Xu Shining's expression changed and he asked, "Didn't you say you were here to pick up your friend?" Chu Yu said impatiently, "Whether you pick up a friend or a boyfriend, that's all my business. Do you need to take care of it?" Xu Shining narrowed his eyes and seemed to see some clues. Then, he crossed his arms across his chest, smiled and said, "Xiao Yu, if you think I'm annoyed, I can understand. After all, feelings need to be cultivated slowly. But there's no need for you to just find some from a small place like this to pretend to be your boyfriend." His words immediately angered Chu Yu. Although Xu Shining is annoying, no matter what, the Xu family has a close relationship with the Chu family, so they still have to do enough on the surface. Insulting Lin Yuan, this would touch Chu Yu's bottom line. However, before Chu Yu could speak, Lin Yuan leaned down slightly and kissed Chu Yu's soft lips gently. With one touch, it is divided. Then, Lin Yuan raised his head and asked calmly, "Now, do you believe that I am her boyfriend?" Chu Yu's face turned crimson as if on fire. She obviously did not expect that Lin Yuan would make such a bold and transgressive move. What's more important is that she didn't resist. Xu Shining on the side, his face was turning blue and white, his eyes were full of anger, and there was even a hint of fleeting murderous intent. If he were not at the train station, he would probably have taken action against Lin Yuan. You must know that the Xu family and the Chu family have always been on good terms, and his parents also deliberately wanted to bring them into marriage. It is no exaggeration to say that although Xu Shining has never touched a hair of Chu Yu, he has already regarded her as his forbidden love in his heart. And the despicable person in front of him actually kissed Chu Yu in front of him. More importantly, judging from Chu Yu's surprised expression, they were definitely not boyfriend and girlfriend before. But as luck would have it, Chu Yu had no intention of resisting. On the contrary, with a bit of girlish shyness. Xu Shining was furious. He really couldn't understand why Chu Yu would fall in love with such a boy who came from a small place. Compared with Junhai, the Magic City is like a place in the sky and a place under the ground. Other than Zhongzhen, the 9th level, Sea Overturning King, how many martial arts masters are there in Junhai City? I'm afraid that together, they may not be as good as the Xu family. If nothing goes wrong, please give way, we are leaving. Lin Yuan took Chu Yu's hand and chose to ignore Xu Shining and walked forward. This was Chu Yu's first time holding hands with a boy. His pretty face felt a little hot, and he lowered his head in a panic, not daring to look directly at Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan passed by Xu Shining, the latter gritted his teeth and said, "Boy, just wait for me, I will kill you sooner or later." Xu Shining spoke very softly, and he spoke close to Lin Yuan's ear, so Chu Yu didn't hear it. Lin Yuan glanced at him and said calmly, "Whatever. Of course he won't care about Xu Shining's threat. What's his, is his, no one can take it away." After experiencing the experience in the wilderness area, Lin Yuan finally understood a truth. That is, this is a world where the strong are always strong and the weak are getting weaker. No one will put things in your hands. If you want it, you have to get it yourself. At the very least, Lin Yuan now dares to look directly at his relationship with Chu Yu. So what if the background behind her is 10,000 feet high? As long as you are willing, you can override it. All misfortunes in this world are caused by the lack of ability of the parties involved. Only the strong will not be restricted by any shackles. When you step onto the top of the mountain, the light shines brightly, and the whole world will make a way for you. After Lin Yuan left with Chu Yu, Xu Shining still stood there with a face full of resentment, clenching his fists tightly, and even his nails were embedded in his flesh. After a long silence, he took out his mobile phone from his pocket and dialed a number. "Hello, old ghost Ying, check someone out for me and I'll give you 200,000. From the other end of the phone, a hoarse voice soon came, 200,000. I wonder who Mr. Xu wants me to check. Lin Yuan, this year's new student at the Magic City Wuhan University. After a moment of silence, the other person asked, Master Xu, has this kid provoked you? It's more than just provoking me. Xu Shining's face was full of resentment, and he said word by word, I will crush him to ashes. He is not saying harsh words, but he is truly murderous. He has never suffered such humiliation in his life. The girl he was pursuing so hard fell into the arms of a mean boy in front of him. How can Xu Shining endure this? In the eyes of disciples like them from aristocratic families, a pariah from a small place like Lin Yuan should be killed, as long as the matter is not exposed. Soon, the old ghost Ying on the other end replied again. I found out, a boy from a civilian family, his martial arts test results are not top-notch, he can only be regarded as a first-time 4th-level warrior, and he has no power at all. There's no background. Once he heard that Lin Yuan had no background, a ferocious sneer appeared on Xu Shining's face again. Children from aristocratic families like them, although they are arrogant, are also very cautious in doing things. This is why, before taking action against Lin Yuan, he specifically entrusted others to investigate Lin Yuan's background. However, since this kid has no background and dares to be so arrogant, then he can't blame Xu Shining for being cruel. Thinking of this, Xu Shining said bluntly, how much will it cost to kill him? Including the intelligence fee, the total is 900,000. Xu Shining looked cold and said, Old Ghost Yang, are you trying to be a fool for me? You want to charge me 800,000 yuan to assassinate a 4th-level warrior? The old Ghost Yang Jia laughed strangely. Although he is a 4th-level warrior, no matter what, this kid is still a student of your Magic City Martial Arts University. If the matter is exposed, we will be in a lot of trouble here. Xu Shining frowned and immediately said, okay, then I'll give you 800,000. But the premise is that your hands and feet must be clean. Even if the matter is exposed, it must not be implicated in me. The old monster Ying smiled and said, don't worry, Mr. Xu, we have been working together for so long, don't you even have this little trust in me? Then I'll be waiting for your good news. Xu Shining calmly hung up the phone, and a sneer curled up at the corner of his mouth. Lin Yuan, do you think I am scaring you? I say I want to torture you to death, and I must make your death ugly. After returning to school, Lin Yuan found his dormitory first, and after putting down the salute, he took Chu Yu out to eat together. Although Lin Yuan invested most of his money in ordering a brand new alloy sword, he still had some 20,000 to 30,000 yuan left over. At the very least, it is more than enough to treat Chu Yu to a meal. With this thought in mind, Lin Yuan directly booked a high-end looking restaurant on his mobile phone and planned to take Chu Yu to try it. However, Chu Yu refused with a strange expression. Lin Yuan was puzzled. What? Do you think it's too expensive? Do you want to save me money? Chu Yu blinked, shook his head slightly, and said with some embarrassment, that's the one opened by my family. It was opened specifically for me as a canteen. I have eaten 3 meals a day there these days. I'm really tired of it. Lin Yuan, the happiness of rich people is beyond imagination. Lin Yuan suddenly felt that he had lost his fighting spirit. He no longer wanted to work hard. He just wanted to be taken care of by Chu Yu, a little rich woman. Then what do you want to eat? Lin Yuan has no idea now. The high-end restaurant in his eyes turned out to be just the canteen in Chu Yu's eyes. It's so heartbreaking. Then, Chu Yu blinked and asked softly, how about we go to eat at a food stall? Quote ? Quote. Lin Yuan, eat, what to eat? It's a food stall. Chu Yu had a strange expression. What's wrong, haven't you eaten before? Haha, how could I not have eaten it? Since Chu Yu wanted to eat, Lin Yuan had no choice but to follow her wishes. However, in a prosperous city like Shanghai where land is at a premium, food stalls are actually harder to find than high-end restaurants. Fortunately, there is a night market near Wudu University. The two of them walked directly into the night market, picked a food stall that was quite popular, and sat down directly. Considering Chu Yu's limited food intake, Lin Yuan didn't order more. He just ordered a plate of fried dumplings, 2 plates of stir-fried vegetables, and some barbecue. The food stall is very efficient. In less than 10 minutes, these items are served piping hot to the table. However, neither of them was in a hurry to move their chopsticks. In the mist of white air, Chu Yu suddenly asked, Lin Yuan, I take what you said today seriously. Lin Yuan smiled and asked, really? What did I say? Chu Yu pursed his lips and said softly with some embarrassment, you said you were my boyfriend. Lin Yuan said deliberately, but wasn't I helping you out? Chu Yu blinked, obviously not being tricked by Lin Yuan, but you obviously kissed me. Then, Chu Yu pretended to be angry and said fiercely, you don't want to leave just to take advantage, do you? Lin Yuan smiled and said, don't worry, I will be responsible for you. Chu Yu's beautiful eyes flickered slightly, then will you be responsible for me to the end? Lin Yuan nodded and said seriously, of course. From now on, no one can bully you except me. Chu Yu's heart trembled, and then he concealed his emotions very well and pretended to be angry, then you can bully me. Lin Yuan stretched out his hand and rubbed Chu Yu's head, what? Didn't I bully you for 3 years in high school? Now that your wings are hard, you can't bully anymore. That is, Chu Yu raised her white neck proudly, from now on, unless I want to, you can't bully me. Lin Yuan glanced at her and asked, then are you willing? Chu Yu replied without hesitation, of course I am willing. After saying these words, Chu Yu realized that he had said the wrong thing, and his pretty face immediately turned red. Lin Yuan looked at her with a smile. This little girl is really cute. The two were silent for a while, and finally Lin Yuan asked, by the way, who is that Xu Xining? Chu Yu said angrily, it's just an annoying fly. Lin Yuan smiled helplessly, speak well. Chu Yu explained, hey, he is the youngest son of the Xu family. He is very arrogant because of his family's influence. He is very annoying. The main thing is that his parents have a pretty good relationship with my parents, so he always feels that I should be with him. Anyway, I don't look down on him at all. Lin Yuan nodded, so that's it. Then, Chu Yu said with some worry, by the way, he is also a freshman in the Magic City this year. You have completely offended him to death today. I'm afraid he will target you in the school next. Aimed at me. Lin Yuan smiled in his heart. So far, no one who has targeted him has ended well. However, Lin Yuan did not show his disdain, but pretended to be casual and asked, is this guy very strong? Chu Yu pursed his lips and said, his martial arts talent is average, but with the support of his family, he has broken through to the level of a 5th-level warrior. That's why, I'm afraid he will target you. As soon as Chu Yu said these words, Lin Yuan quickly understood. This Xu Xining is probably a medicine jar. With the support of medicine, he has forcibly improved his martial arts cultivation. This kind of person is what Lin Yuan despises the most. At the peak of the 4th level, Shen Xiao can fight against the 5th-level lion mastiff alone. Xu Xining, who has been improved by reliable drugs, may not be Lin Yuan's opponent even if he has the strength of a 5th-level warrior. After all, Lin Yuan not only has extremely rich practical experience, but also has the additional blessing of Sharingan. It may not be difficult to challenge Xu Xining over the next level. Chu Yu also seemed to notice Lin Yuan's indifference, and added again, actually, I'm not afraid that he will target you alone. You have to know that a disciple from a family like him will eventually have many people who want to curry favor with him. As long as he shows some malice towards you, someone will soon rush to attack you. So, I was wondering if I could help you with something. Chu Yu said the last sentence very lightly, because she knew that this sentence might hurt Lin Yuan's self-esteem. The Chu family is not much weaker than the Xu family. As the eldest lady of the Chu family, Chu Yu can naturally protect Lin Yuan easily if she is willing. But, the key is, this will damage Lin Yuan's self-esteem. She is indeed capable of protecting Lin Yuan, but is Lin Yuan really willing to hide under his protection? Although Chu Yu already had the answer in her heart, she was really afraid that something would happen to Lin Yuan, so she couldn't help but speak in the end. The food on the table has almost been eaten. Lin Yuan stood up, smiled and said, let's go. Oh, seeing that Lin Yuan did not answer him directly, Chu Yu was a little unhappy, but he still stood up obediently. Subsequently, Lin Yuan reached out his hand and gently hugged her waist. Chu Yu's face turned red instantly. What are you doing? Lin Yuan asked back. Isn't it normal for a man and a woman to be friends? But, Chu Yu's voice became lower and lower, and soon he could no longer go down. Lin Yuan hugged his waist and walked out. After walking out of the store, Lin Yuan leaned into her ear and said seriously, don't worry about me about what I want to tell you. If I can't even deal with Xu Xining, how can I have the chance to continue with you in the future? After hearing what Lin Yuan said, Chu Yu was completely stunned. While feeling sluggish, there is also a deep sweetness in my heart. It turned out that Lin Yuan would really work hard for her. She will always be there in his future. Okay, it's getting late, you should go back. Lin Yuan rubbed Chu Yu's head again and said with a smile. Chu Yu blinked and said coquettishly, I want you to take me back. Be good, you go back first. Lin Yuan did not relent, but said softly, I still have some things to do. Let's have dinner together tomorrow. Let a girl go back to the dormitory alone at night. I am afraid that only a straight man like Lin Yuan can do it. However, Lin Yuan is really not worried about Chu Yu. After all, Chu Yu is the daughter of the Chu family. It doesn't matter whether anyone dares to do something to her. Even if someone is so reckless, who can guarantee that no one will protect her secretly? These aristocratic families attach great importance to the protection of their heirs. What's more, Lin Yuan really has something to deal with next. Oh well, Chu Yu pursed his lips and finally nodded obediently. After the two separated, Lin Yuan walked directly outside the night market, seemingly without any purpose. He just walked wherever it was remote. Soon, Lin Yuan came to a deserted open space. It seems that a community is going to be built here, but it has not been approved, so it has been abandoned here. There is nothing around except some reinforced concrete and broken walls. Lin Yuan stood there, glanced around, and said calmly, "We are already here, aren't you ready to show up?" At this moment, a slender black shadow slowly walked out of the shadows on the side and appeared in front of Lin Yuan. "You've discovered all this. You have really good eyesight." The shadow sneered sneerily, and pulled out a dark purple dagger from his waist. He is the killer sent by Ying Laogui to assassinate Lin Yuan. Under Ying Laogui's hands, he is not considered the most powerful killer, he only has the strength of mid-level 5th level. However, it is more than enough to deal with Lin Yuan, a 4th-level warrior. Moreover, the price given by Xu Shining would not allow a 6th-level warrior to assassinate Lin Yuan. You must know that 6th-level warriors can usually be called martial arts masters. Such a being rarely joins a killer organization. Even if you join, you usually rarely make any moves and the price is extremely high. However, since Shadow Old Ghost sent him out, he was sure that he would not miss. After all, he can successfully assassinate even a 5th-level warrior, let alone a young boy who has just been admitted to the martial arts university. The reason why we are so anxious to take action is because today happens to be the last day before the opening of Shanghai University of Science and Technology. Tomorrow is the opening ceremony. After Lu Yu officially enrolls in school, if he wants to find an opportunity to carry out an assassination, it will not be that easy. However, since everyone has discovered my existence, why not choose a smarter way, such as staying with your little girlfriend? The dark figure in front of him stared at Lin Yuan coldly, with a sarcastic smile on his lips. "Or are you confident enough to escape my pursuit?" If Lin Yuan had stayed with Chu Yu after realizing the danger, hence, he might not really dare to attack Lin Yuan under such circumstances. But now, Lin Yuan discovered his whereabouts and actively lured him to this deserted place. Although I don't know how this kid discovered it, what he did was completely equivalent to sending himself to a dead end. However, Lin Yuan shook his head and said calmly, "I just feel that since someone wants to kill me, I can't escape just by hiding. It's better to settle everything right here. This may save a lot of unnecessary trouble." Unnecessary trouble? The dark figure in front of him laughed wildly. "Do you think it is an unnecessary trouble for you to live well in this world? In that case, I can deal with you now." Then, a strong murderous intention flashed through the eyes of the black shadow. Holding the purple dagger in his right hand, he approached Lin Yuan step by step. He was very sure that Lin Yuan was the only one around. The only ones who can escape his perception are those who are 8th-level warriors and above. A boy with no background would not have an 8th-level warrior protecting him secretly, right? This possibility is almost zero. At this moment, Lin Yuan asked calmly, "By the way, I don't know your name yet. Before you die, do you want to know my name? Then I'll satisfy you." The shadow froze, and a sneer appeared on his face again. "But those who work in our line of work have no names, only code names. My code name is Yi. Because my power is to blend into the darkness of the night. Merge into the night." Lin Yuan was slightly startled. This is really a talent that is extremely suitable for assassination. The man in front of me is really a natural killer. Subsequently, Lin Yuan said calmly, "Your power is pretty good, so I'll accept it reluctantly." "What?" Yi frowned, thinking that he heard wrongly. Lin Yuan repeated it again, "Your superpower belongs to me, because you are going to die soon." "Ha ha ha ha." Yi laughed loudly. "Are you out of your mind? Can you still say such a thing now?" He decided not to talk nonsense and directly killed the young man in front of him. "As long as you kill him, you will get your reward." However, at this moment, Lin Yuan silently pulled out a card. This is a character summoning card. As early as when he was having dinner with Chu Yu, he noticed the existence of Yi. Because the choice given by the system appeared in front of him. Option 1. Escape from the killer and protect yourself as much as possible during this period. Reward: 5,000 points of vitality and a skill upgrade card. Option 2. Send Chu Yu away and choose to face the killer alone. Reward: 5,000 points of vitality, a random special character summoning card, and a special ability absorption card. At that time, Lin Yuan was surprised by the options that suddenly appeared. Even he himself didn't expect that he would be targeted by a killer without even realizing it. Subsequently, while eating, Lin Yuan quietly opened his Sharingan and began to secretly observe the surrounding situation. After observing for a while, Lin Yuan quickly discovered something unusual. The man sitting in the corner eating seemed to be fine, but in fact he was observing him with his peripheral vision. Lin Yuan felt awestruck. Obviously, this should be the killer prompted by the system. After thinking for a moment, Lin Yuan quickly figured out the general story of the matter. If he guessed correctly, this killer should have been sent by Xu Shining. After all, Lin Yuan had no enemies at all in the Magic City, the only person he had offended was him. However, what Lin Yuan didn't expect was that Xu Shining would be so unyielding in revenge. I just offended him with my front leg, and someone came to assassinate me with my back leg. It seems that this young Master Xu is really not a good person. Lin Yuan naturally did not want Chu Yu to get involved in such a matter. So, he chose the second option without hesitation, choosing to leave Chu Yu and face the killer alone. After receiving the reward from the system, Lin Yuan's own energy and blood immediately soared to 22,895 points, and his strength reached a new level. It's just that your chi and blood must reach at least 30,000 points before you can officially enter the threshold of a 5th level warrior. Obviously, there is still a huge gap between Lin Yuan and the 5th level warrior. The assassin who came to assassinate him should not have reached the level of a small master, but at least he had the strength of a 5th level warrior. With its own strength, it is obviously impossible to cope with it. The only two cards Lin Yuan can rely on are the two cards rewarded by the system. A random special character summoning card. A power absorption card. After getting these two cards, Lin Yuan started to look at the introduction without hesitation. Character summoning card. Blind Monk, Li Qing. Prop category. Disposable props. Introduction to the prop. After use, the special character, Blind Monk, Li Qing can be summoned, completely obedient to the host's orders. However, due to the advent of reality, the strength of this special character has been suppressed and can only display the strength equivalent to a 5th level warrior. Duration: 15 minutes. Superpower absorption card. Prop category. Disposable props. Introduction to the prop. After use, it can absorb the supernatural power of a dying person. There is a 70% chance of successful absorption, a 20% chance of failed absorption, and a 10% chance of mutation, which is consistent with the host's current ability. Fusion. Effective time: 1 day. After checking the attributes of these two cards, Lin Yuan already made a decision in his heart. Although the power absorption card is very effective, it can only be used on people who are dying, and it is not very helpful in combat. Then, the only thing he can use is this character summoning card. Blind Monk Li Qing. If Lin Yuan remembered correctly, this should be a hero in a certain game. Since this is the case, even if the strength is suppressed to the 5th level, it should not be very weak, right? Lin Yuan quickly had a plan in his mind. First lead the killer to a dark place yourself, and then use this character summon card to kill him directly on the spot. It would be great if the opponent has superpowers. You can just use the ability absorption card when the opponent is dying, forcibly deprive the opponent of the ability, and take it as your own. Although this plan is not without any risks. But for Lin Yuan now, this is not the first time he has experienced life danger. Since someone wants to kill him, he must be prepared to pay the price. When Yi Wubi decisively launched a surprise attack on him, Lin Yuan chose to use the character summoning card in his hand without hesitation. A monk with a bare upper body, a solemn face, and his eyes tightly covered with a red cloth suddenly appeared in front of Lin Yuan. This is the blind monk, Li Qing. When it appeared, Lin Yuan felt that the aura around him was different. The man who looked like a warrior monk in front of him had muscles all over his body, as if full of explosive power. Although due to the advent of reality, Li Qing was suppressed to only the 5th level of strength. But Lin Yuan could still feel how powerful the man in front of him was. Then, Li Qing turned around and said in a calm voice, why did you summon me? Lin Yuan pointed at Yi without hesitation and said, kill him for me. After pointing out, Lin Yuan finally realized that the reason why Li Qing was called the blind monk was because he was blind. He should not be able to see the direction his finger is pointing at. However, Li Qing nodded slightly. I can already feel his qi flowing. At the same time, Yi's face was horrified. Before this, he had never sensed that there was such a person beside Lin Yuan. When did he appear? How could I not be even aware of it? Although Yi Xin was extremely shocked, the arrow was on the string and he had to fire it. He could only bite the bullet and attack Lin Yuan. At worst, just kill the person in front of you too. However, at this moment, Li Qing suddenly appeared in front of him. His movements were as fast as a ghost. Then, Li Qing put his hands on the ground and whipped his leg directly, sweeping toward him with a spinning force. Yi's face was horrified. The speed of this leg was so fast that even he couldn't see clearly. Pong! Before Yi could react, he was kicked more than 10 meters away and fell heavily to the ground. Yi felt her internal organs shaking, and she couldn't help but cough up a mouthful of blood. Lin Yuan also felt slightly stunned. Of course he knows that Li Qing is very strong. But he obviously didn't expect that Li Qing would be so strong. That kick just now, even when he used the 3 Magatama Sharingan, he could barely see it clearly. Obviously, although Li Qing's strength has been suppressed, his martial arts skills are still there. Even if he only possesses the energy and blood equivalent to a 5th-level warrior, Li Qing can still use it to extremely terrifying strength. Li Qing raised his head, with an indifferent expression, and said calmly, control yourself and control the enemy. Yi took a breath and stood up with great difficulty. He knew deep down in his heart that if he really wanted to have a head-on confrontation, he would definitely not be the opponent of the monk in front of him. Thinking of this, Yi gritted his teeth and directly chose to activate his own ability. Melting the night. The next second, Yi's figure swayed and merged directly into the darkness of the night. Even Lin Yuan was slightly surprised after Yi successfully blended into the darkness. Even with the 3 Magatama Sharingan activated, he was unable to trace the other party's traces. Because the power of the night is neither an illusion nor a deception. So, even the Sharingan cannot see through it. He is truly integrated into the darkness. Is there any way? Lin Yuan turned to Li Qing and asked softly. The latter nodded calmly and whispered. Being blind does not affect my pursuit of the enemy at all, because I can smell their scent. Just as he finished speaking, Li Qing's right foot suddenly kicked off the ground. The powerful explosive force caused a deep pit to instantly appear on the ground. At the same time, Li Qing's figure flew out like lightning. From Lin Yuan's perspective, Li Qing just rushed towards an open space. But during this process, Li Qing's hands suddenly stretched forward like tiger claws, breaking bones and tendons. Click. With a crisp sound, a bone on Yi's body seemed to be broken directly by Li Qing. Subsequently, there was another shrill scream. Under the severe pain, Yi's superpower was forcibly lifted. His figure also emerged from the darkness. At this moment, Lin Yuan saw that his entire right arm had been broken off by Li Qing in an extremely cruel way and twisted into a weird arc. Yi's forehead could not help but break out in a layer of cold sweat. It is impossible for any normal person to withstand this level of pain. It was quite difficult for him not to faint immediately. Just by looking at it, Lin Yuan felt a slight pain in his right arm. It's a pity that Li Qing still has no intention of letting him go. His right hand was like an iron pliers, tightly clamping down on Yi's arm, and then he suddenly kicked his leg and hit the latter's calf hard. Li Qing's strongest point is his leg skills. Although he didn't make any preparations, the power that exploded was still frightening, as if it was enough to kick through a steel plate. Such an explosive kick, it is impossible for Yi to resist it. With a muffled sound of pong, his calf was completely destroyed by Li Qing's kick. Even the fragments produced after the bones were broken seemed to have pierced into his flesh and blood. This time, the pain was so painful that I could barely even cry out. He opened his mouth wide, with a look of pain on his face, but he still couldn't make any sound. After continuously crippling Yi's hands and feet, Li Qing seemed to finally be ready to kill him completely. I saw him slowly reaching out his hand and grabbing Yi's neck. During this process, Yi had no room to fight back and could only watch death approaching him step by step. Li Qing's face was expressionless, and his right hand gradually exerted force like an iron pincer. Yi's face was flushed, and when he was about to suffocate to death, Lin Yuan finally spoke, "Don't kill him yet, let me do it." Li Qing was summoned by Lin Yuan. He naturally obeyed Lin Yuan's orders unconditionally. So he let go of his hand, took a step back, and retreated behind Lin Yuan. Subsequently, Lin Yuan activated the supernatural absorption card directly towards the half-disabled Yi. However, the first time it was absorbed, it was a direct failure. Because the prerequisite for activating the ability absorption card is that the opponent is in a dying state. Obviously, the current knight does not meet this condition. Lin Yuan frowned. Isn't this considered a state of near death? After saying that, he directly raised his foot, his energy and blood suddenly burst out, and he instantly stepped on Yi's chest. Pong! There was another muffled sound, and when Lin Yuan stepped down, Yi's sternum was dented to a degree visible to the naked eye. Ahem! Another pool of blood gushes out of Yi's mouth. Kill me! Yi's face was full of pain, and she spoke with great difficulty. As a killer, he had long been prepared to die. This time, it was indeed him who got into trouble. He knew that he could no longer live. Instead of living in such pain, it would be better to let the other party give him a happy life. However, Lin Yuan was not moved at all, and just said lightly, "Don't worry, when the time comes, I will send you on your way." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yuan stepped on his leg bone again. Lin Yuan had no mercy at all for such people. If he had not chosen the system prompt, then the person who died here today would probably be him. When the pain spread to the brain, Yi felt completely desperate. The man in front of me is simply a devil, a complete devil. After torturing this guy for nearly 5 minutes, he finally tortured Yi to the point of dying. Lin Yuan activated the ability absorption card again. This time, the card turned directly into dark lights, like fireflies, integrated into the body of the knight, and began to flicker violently. It feels as if these fluorescent lights are wildly devouring Yi's supernatural powers. After flickering for about 10 seconds, these fluorescent lights left Yi's body again, became much darker, and then merged into Lin Yuan's body again. After being deprived of his powers, Yi's vitality was completely gone and he became a cold corpse. After successfully absorbing Yi's superpower, Lin Yuan felt a particularly mysterious feeling. This feeling is as if I can perfectly blend into the night. This is Yi's innate ability, wrong Yi. To be more precise, it should be melt dark. Because Lin Yuan felt that he could blend into any dark place without light. Soon, Lin Yuan mastered the technique of this supernatural power. He took a slight step forward, and his entire figure immediately disappeared into the dark night. Lin Yuan turned his head and asked calmly, "Li Qing, can you still see me?" Li Qing. Lin Yuan suddenly reacted and smiled awkwardly. "I'm sorry, I forgot that you can't see things again." After blending into the darkness, although he still has a physical entity and will still be attacked from the outside world, he is almost impossible to detect with the naked eye. Unless there is a being whose mental power is completely superior to him, it is possible to sense Lin Yuan's aura. In addition, Lin Yuan, who blended into the darkness, was completely invisible. This ability is simply a magical skill for assassination. Chapter 51. After experiencing the effect of the supernatural power, Lin Yuan walked out of the darkness again. He directly opened his properties panel. At the end of the column of abilities, there is indeed the ability of Melting Night. Lin Yuan suddenly thought, since there is a special column for abilities, does it mean that he can have more than one ability? At the very least, according to Lin Yuan's current understanding, all superpowers only possess one superpower. Perhaps, with a system in mind, I can break this routine. Thinking about this, Lin Yuan suddenly became excited. You must know that the effect of just one power is already so significant. If you had dozens of superpowers, wouldn't it mean that you could easily become invincible? The more Lin Yuan thought about it, the more his blood boiled. However, even if it is possible to absorb dozens of superpowers, it will probably take a long time. Whether he can get a second ability absorption card is still unclear. After all, since the God-level selection system was established until now, the system has never given out the same reward twice. Lin Yuan shook his head and cleared away the distracting thoughts in his heart. If you want haste, you will not achieve anything. The road ahead, after all, still needs to be walked step by step. 15 minutes came quickly. The blind monk, Li Qing, who was summoned through the character summoning card, slowly disappeared behind Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan felt a little pity. If Li Qing could always exist in reality and act as his bodyguard, Lin Yuan would even dare to feel that he could walk around in the magic city of Wuhan University. Although Li Qing only has the strength of the 5th level, Lin Yuan feels that this guy is even comparable to the 6th level warrior when he explodes with all his strength. Looking at the entire Magic City Martial Arts University, among the freshmen, how many can reach the level of 6th level warriors, that is, the realm of little masters of martial arts? It's good to have 1 or 2 people. After Li Qing disappeared, Lin Yuan suddenly remembered that Yi's body had not been disposed of yet. Fortunately, this place is almost a wilderness, almost no one comes here, and Lin Yuan has enough time to deal with it. He directly dragged Yi's unrecognizable body into an unfinished building. Subsequently, he found a rusty shovel from a corner and soon dug a hole 3 to 4 meters deep on the ground behind the door. Lin Yuan was not polite and kicked Yi's body directly in. Then he filled in the hole and filled the surface soil with a shovel. My own handling, although not perfect, can be considered very clean. This abandoned construction site does not know when it will be approved for development again. At least for a few months, no one would discover Yi's body, and he would just bury it here. The most important thing is that Yi is a killer and his own identity is not clean either. No one except the killer organization will know that he is dead. Thinking of this, Lin Yuan suddenly felt a little regretful. My own experience is still somewhat lacking after all. Before killing Yi, I didn't even think of getting something out of his mouth. What a mistake. After dealing with everything, Lin Yuan directly chose to leave this desolate place. The second day, 9 o'clock in the morning. On the campus of Wudu University in Shanghai, most of the freshmen were rushing to the school playground. Because today is September 1st, which happens to be the opening ceremony of Magic City Wuhan University. Among the freshman team, Lin Yuan and Chu Yu are also among them. The two of them were walking side by side. Although they did not make any intimate gestures, others around them could clearly feel the relationship between them. Perhaps, a special aura will really form between lovers. This kind of aura is particularly lethal to single dogs, and can cause 10,086 points of critical damage. Let's go, isn't that the freshman school beauty, Chu Yu? How could she be abducted so quickly? Oh my god, if I had known, I would have taken action earlier. Save it for me. You act as if you have a chance if you pursue someone else. That's the daughter of the Chu family. If this is discussed, at least 10 years of hard work will be spared. 10 years less struggle, too little. If I had the support of the Chu family, I could become a martial arts master even if I lay down. Martial arts master is useless. If you are only a 7th level warrior, the head of the Chu family may not even bother to look at you, let alone marry his daughter to you. But when I look at the person next to Chu Yu, he doesn't look like a handsome young man. He looks very unfamiliar. Alas, the goddess fell so easily, it really breaks my heart. Lin Yuan squeezed Chu Yu's hand gently, smiled and said, "Many people are talking about you." But to be honest, Lin Yuan was already used to the scene in front of him in high school. Because Chu Yu can attract the attention of a lot of boys based on his appearance alone. Not to mention, after attending Wuhan University in the Magic City, almost everyone knew her identity as the daughter of the Chu family, which made others pay a lot more attention to her. Good looks, good family background, good personality, and hot body. Lin Yuan analyzed it carefully. This is a perfect template for a goddess-level school beauty. The kind that even novels would not dare to write like this. Chu Yu raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said playfully, "How is it? With so many competitors, do you feel some pressure?" Lin Yuan shook his head and denied, "No." "Why?" Chu Yu asked with a smile. "Because you are already mine. And, those people are no match for me, so naturally they can't you away from me." Lin Yuan grinned and took Chu Yu's hand very naturally. "There are so many people." The latter's face was flushed, a little embarrassed, and he gently shook off Lin Yuan's hand. The hearts of the freshmen who were secretly discussing next to each other were about to break into 8 petals. Finally, a goddess-level figure emerged among the freshmen, but she started flirting with her boyfriend in front of them. If looks could kill, Lin Yuan would have been chopped into pieces 8,000 times. Lin Yuan looked around for a while and found that Shen Xiao and the others were not seen. Yesterday, Lin Yuan finished handling everything and returned to school. It was almost early in the morning, so naturally he didn't have time to ask Shen Xiao and the others out to meet him. However, logically speaking, they should also come to attend the opening ceremony. However, there were too many new students, and Lin Yuan did not find them among the crowd. Lin Yuan is still very interested in the opening ceremony. Because according to the tradition of Wudu University, after the opening ceremony, a special program will be held specifically for all freshmen. The playground of Wudu University in Shanghai is very large. Filled circle. Today's opening ceremony will be held here. Since classes have not yet been divided, students almost always gather in small groups on the playground. There is still a quarter of an hour left before the opening ceremony officially begins. However, nearly half of the playground is already occupied by the bustling freshmen. Lin Yuan asked softly, "How many new students will our Mowu recruit this year?" Chu Yu pondered for a moment and then answered, "Maybe more than 3,000 people." More than 3,000 people. After hearing this number, Lin Yuan couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. You should know that in an ordinary high school, the total number of students is only about 3,000. Modu Wu Dogwang has recruited 3,000 new students this year alone. Calculating this way, the total number of freshmen to senior students would probably exceed 10,000. So many students, just to provide basic practice resources, that is absolutely an astronomical number. An ordinary martial arts university is simply impossible to afford. The Magic City Wuhan University is truly worthy of being one of the 2 top martial arts universities in China. This courage alone is shocking. The time is coming, the opening ceremony should be about to begin, right? Lin Yuan glanced at his mobile phone and found that in less than 3 minutes, the opening ceremony would officially begin. However, what makes Lin Yuan feel a little strange is that until now, not even a teacher has come out to maintain order. The whole playground was messy and extremely noisy. Lin Yuan frowned and looked around, finding that all the teachers around the playground were silent and looking at their new students with a sneer. It's like they are going to be unlucky next. 9 o'clock, here it is. Finally, a middle-aged man with a majestic face slowly walked onto the podium. Lin Yuan's heart skipped a beat as he obviously recognized this middle-aged man. He is the current president of the Magic City Wuhan University, the God-Cutting Sword, Wang Zonlin. The God-Beheading Sword is his nickname, because the weapon Wang Zonlin is best at is the knife. There are even rumors that he has been raising swords for 7 years, but he has not made a single sword in 7 years. If this sword is drawn, it can kill the gods with one strike. Hence the name, God-Cutting Sword. Of course, some people call him the King of War Swords. Because those who are qualified to serve as the principal of Mowu must at least be the best among 9th-level warriors and be called the King of Heaven, so there is no problem. Wang Zonlin glanced around and frowned, seeming a little dissatisfied. Then, he shouted directly, "The time has come, close the door." At this moment, although the time for the opening ceremony has arrived, there are still many students outside the playground and have not had time to come in. After the word, "Seal the door," came out, the 2 teachers responsible for guarding the door directly stretched out their hands and pulled the fence made of alloy, preparing to completely seal the door. At this moment, the students who had not yet entered the venue finally realized that they were anxious. Like sardine cans, they crazily squeezed towards the gate, as if they wanted to take advantage of the last closing time to squeeze into the playground. Stand still. Those who are late, no one from Tamar will be able to get in today. Seeing that the situation seemed to be out of control, the 2 teachers responsible for sealing the door finally got angry and shouted angrily. The surging energy, blood and mental power suddenly exploded. 2 such terrifying energies intertwined together, forming a suffocating pressure. All the students were slightly suffocated, and their bodies were completely frozen in place. Of these 2 teachers, one is a 7th-level warrior who majors in Qi and blood. The other one is a 7th level warrior who majors in spiritual power. This is the aura of a martial arts master. This is the power of a master. Those who are qualified to teach in Mowu must at least start as a martial arts master. Otherwise, it would be impossible to suppress these martial arts arrogance. You must know that even among the freshmen, there are already many 5th level warriors. Even, there are a few geniuses who already possess the strength of 6th level warriors. If a martial artist below a martial arts master is invited to teach, it will easily lead to an embarrassing situation where the teacher cannot defeat the student. After the group of students outside the door were restrained, the two teachers also completely closed the door to the playground. Lin Yuan turned his head and took a look. It was found that at least 1/6 of the students were blocked from the gate. Now, he finally understood why the school never chose to maintain order. It turns out that from the very beginning, the school had been prepared to give them a blow. Wang Zonlin paced back and forth on the stage and said with a sneer, "Dear freshmen, I remember the school announced that the opening ceremony will start on time at 9 o'clock, right?" Off the field, the elegant bird is silent. For the students outside the door who have not yet entered, no one dared to speak. Because everyone knows that whoever speaks at this time is a fool and is simply hitting the muzzle of the gun himself. The state has national laws, and every family has its own rules. School, naturally must have school rules. If there were no rules and you were allowed to be so free and undisciplined, would our Mowu be able to produce so many martial arts geniuses over the years? The answer is, it's simply impossible. Wang Zonlin glanced in all directions, his eyes were like swords, and his voice was like a Honglu bell. Even students who have not yet entered the venue can still hear it clearly. Enrolling in school today, the first thing I want to teach you is to abide by the rules at all times. Because, this will be your foundation in this school. Of course, if you want to not follow the rules, that's okay. As long as you have enough strength, you can break all the rules. In short, if you want to disobey the rules, you must first defeat me. Otherwise, either obey the rules, or get out of Wuhan University. After Wang Zonlin said these words, the expressions of all the students in the audience changed slightly. Their principal is really domineering. If you want to be unruly, then you have to defeat him first. Just kidding, it is quite difficult to become a martial arts master before graduating from university in 4 years. Who dares to challenge a 9th order heavenly king level warrior? Isn't this making yourself uncomfortable? If anyone dares to challenge Wang Zonlin, he is simply out of patience. Under Wang Zonlin's warning, the new students of Wuhan University in the Magic City were obviously frightened. Many self-respecting subconsciously shrank their necks, fearing that they would be targeted by their principals. After seeing everyone being shocked, Wang Zonlin's face finally showed a hint of satisfaction. At the very least, my goal has been achieved. The most annoying thing in Wuhan University are the students who disobey discipline. Although warriors must have a free spirit, without rules, there will be nothing. Moreover, before having strength, the so-called freedom is nothing but empty talk. After announcing the rules of Mowu, Wang Zonlin was also ready to kill the chickens to scare the monkeys. He stood with his hands behind his hands, looked at the group of students who had not yet entered the playground, and said coldly, "Anyone who fails to enter the playground within the specified time will have 30 points deducted from each person." After Wang Zonlin said these words, not only the students outside the door were stunned, but also the students standing on the playground looked horrified. After all students who have learned about Modu Wuhan University before enrolling know the importance of credits. Take the golden tree fruit that Lin Yuan won from Guanzhang's bet as an example. A golden tree fruit can be bought for as much as 300,000 yuan if placed outside. At the Magic City Martial Arts University, you only need 30 credits to redeem it. In other words, 1 credit point is equivalent to 10,000 yuan. Moreover, many things that cannot be bought outside can be redeemed through credits in the Magic City Wuhan University. Otherwise, how could Wuhan University, the magical capital, be called one of the 2 holy places for spiritual practice? After enrolling, freshmen will be able to obtain 100 basic credits, which can be used to maintain their daily practice. But now, it's just a small thing like being late for the school opening ceremony. As soon as Wang Zonlin opened his mouth, he deducted nearly 1/3 of their credits. These students looked pale, but still did not dare to argue. No one dared to argue in front of Wang's online. For some students from good families, 30 credits may still be able to make up for it with money. But for those students with civilian backgrounds, this is equivalent to putting them far behind at the starting line. However, this cannot be blamed on others, because they did it wrong in the first place. Although Wang's online also wanted to scare the monkeys, they would not have been punished if they had not taken the school's rules to heart. After announcing the punishment results, Wang's online began to give an entrance speech. Although the content of the speech is not new, it can even be described as the same. However, coming from the mouth of Wang's online, a 9th-level heavenly king, it can have a blood-heating effect. After this speech, nearly 90% of the freshmen were emotionally aroused. After the speech, Wang's online showed a smile and said loudly, "Actually, there is nothing much to say. I just want to say a word to you. Welcome to Modu Wuhan University." As soon as Wang's online said these last words, the whole freshmen in the playground were instantly detonated, and their emotions boiled to the extreme. Mowu, 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 Mowu. Almost everyone is raising their arms and shouting, roaring the name of the school of Wudu University. At this moment, this group of freshmen actually felt an inexplicable sense of belonging to the university they had just arrived at. Wang's online smiled with satisfaction. The effect of today's opening ceremony was even better than he imagined. Students, today's opening ceremony should come to an end here. This afternoon, you can take a walk around the school. After all, our Mowu school is very big, and we can't finish it in a short while. Speaking of this, Wang's online grinned. The students in the audience finally relaxed a little. It seems that their principal is quite easygoing when he is not showing his majesty. However, I don't recommend that you leave the school, because at 7 o'clock tonight, according to the tradition of our Mowu, the special program for all your freshmen will start on time. Of course, it doesn't matter if you don't want to come, because participation in this event is not compulsory. As long as you don't feel any regrets. Wang's online smiled and said in a low voice, because this time, we at Mowu have prepared a total of 10,000 credits to reward the freshmen who have performed well in this event. After Wang's online said these words, the whole place was in an uproar. No one can remain calm in front of these 10,000 credits. You know, 1 credit point is 10,000 yuan. If it were traded on the black market, it could even be sold for a high price of 15,000 or 16,000. So, 10,000 credits, if converted into money, would be at least a full 100 million. In order to hold an event for all freshmen, Mowu actually used 100 million as a reward. Even Lin Yuan was shocked by such a wealthy person. However, having said that, Mowu's tradition is that every year during the entrance season, a special event is held for all freshmen. Last year, Wang's online seemed to have captured more than a dozen 6th-level demon-toothed skywings alive. The rule is that freshmen pay 10 credits as a challenge fee. No matter what method you use, as long as you can survive under the hands of the demon-toothed skywing tiger for 1 minute, you will be rewarded with 300 credits. Persist for 3 minutes and you will be rewarded with 500 credits. Persist for 5 minutes and you will be rewarded with 800 credits. If someone can defeat the 6th-level demon-toothed skywing tiger, 3,000 points of credits will be directly awarded. As for the year before last, Wang's online seemed to be more simple and crude. He directly went into battle himself and suppressed his martial arts cultivation to only the 5th level to face the new students. Similarly, the longer you can persist under him, the more generous credit rewards you will receive. It seems that in order to maintain the excellent tradition of Mowu, Wang's online has really spent a lot of money, saying that he will give out tens of thousands of credits every year. I heard that in order to preserve this tradition, half of the credits awarded every year come from Wang's online's own pocket. After all, although Mowu is wealthy, its funds are limited. Such an activity of spending 100 million at a time has been refuted by many board members. Fortunately, Wang's online insisted on keeping it. Because in his opinion, young people must be bloody. Wang's online's purpose is to tell all the new students a truth by organizing this special event. That is, the strong will always be strong, and the weak will always be weak. If you don't fight hard, fight for it, then you will always be just a weakling. Even if you don't have enough talent, you can still fight and fight regardless of everything. Those who are brave. Throughout the afternoon, Lin Yuan took Chu Yu for a walk around Wuhan University. I have to say that the area of Modu Wuhan University is really large. In Lin Yuan's opinion, it is at least half the size of a county town. Furthermore, the various facilities on campus are also extremely complete. Qi and blood training room, martial arts stage, virtual combat room, warrior mall, gravity training room, spiritual meditation room. This place is indeed a holy place for warriors. In order to prevent being late, Lin Yuan specially set aside half an hour and rushed towards the playground with Chu Yu. After learning the lessons learned in the morning, no one who wanted to participate in the activities would dare to be late again. It was only a quarter of an hour before 7 o'clock, and the playground was crowded with waiting students. This time, there was no teacher to maintain order. However, there were no students making any noise. At most, they were just whispering to each other. Sure enough, when 7 o'clock came, Wang Zonlin directly ordered the door to be closed. However, by this time, almost all the students had arrived. Very good, it seems that you already understand what the rules of our magic weapon are. Wang Zonlin glanced around the crowd and nodded slightly. Then, he continued, I believe everyone must be curious about what kind of special event we will hold this time for the opening ceremony. Now, I can finally tell you. The rules for this year's special event are extremely simple. Did you see the training building in the northwest? Although it hasn't been built yet, you can use it first this time. That building has 3 floors in total. Each floor has at least 2,000 square meters of open space. And all you have to do is enter that building to fight and fight. The school will give each of you a sensor suit. Those who lose the ability to fight, a teacher will rescue you from the building. Of course, if you feel that you can't hold on any longer, or are afraid of fighting with others, you can also press the distress button on the sensor suit. It's just that if I hadn't pressed that button under special circumstances, I would have despised you. Because we in Mowu recruit warriors, not cowards. Wang Zonlin's words made everyone deafened and excited, and at the same time, they also aroused the passion in their hearts. Those who can get into Wudu University in Shanghai would think that they are weak or cowardly. No one would think so. Okay, I've already told you what needs to be said. Next, I start to read out the specific rules. It is now 7 o'clock. The test will start on time at 7:30 and end on time at 8:15. That is, a total of 45 minutes. In this actual combat activity, only wooden weapons are allowed to be carried. Malicious injuries are not allowed, and the opponent is not allowed to continue to pursue and kill after losing the ability to fight. Once investigated, severe punishment will be given. Apart from this, you are not restricted from using any means. By the end of the actual combat activity, all those on the 3rd floor will share 6,000 points equally. Everyone who stays on the 2nd floor will share 4,000 points equally. As for those who stay on the 1st floor, I'm sorry, you will not receive any rewards. At this point, a sarcastic smile appeared on Wang Zonlin's face. Martial arts will never sympathize with the weak. In this world, the winner takes all and the loser is completely defeated. There is absolutely no such thing as a consolation prize. Okay, now all freshmen, get ready. The actual combat venue will open at 7:30, on time. The entire playground soon fell silent. Everyone is doing preparation activities silently, and almost no one will talk to the people around them. Because, everyone knows it deep down. When the actual combat activities officially start, friends who have chatted for a few words now may very well become enemies in the blink of an eye. As time passes by minute, 7:30, finally here. The door to the training building will open on time. More than 3,000 new students filed in a very short period of time. Many people want to seize the opportunity to get to the 2nd or 3rd floor before everyone else enters the venue. However, in Lin Yuan's view, such a move is meaningless. After all, the credits that everyone can receive are limited. The top students can evenly distribute 6,000 credits. Students in the 2nd level can get at least 4,000 credits. The rules set by Wang Zonlin almost pushed everyone to the opposite side. If you want to get more credits, firstly, you must be able to crush others in terms of strength. Second, You must eliminate other people whose strength is not up to standard as much as possible. As a result, almost no one can fish in troubled waters in such a harsh environment. Only those with real strength are qualified to stay. When you get in, follow me closely. Seeing more and more freshmen pouring into the training building, Lin Yuan subconsciously squeezed Chu Yu's hand. However, what Lin Yuan did not expect was that Chu Yu calmly shook his head. She said calmly, "No, I know you definitely want to go to the top floor. If you take me with you, it will be a drag. Let's separate for now. I'll try to see if I can gain a foothold on the second floor. If not, I'll retreat to the first floor." Chu Yu knew that with Lin Yuan's character, he would definitely attack the highest building. In this case, being by his side will not be of much help, and may even hinder him. So, it is better to separate here for the time being, so that Lin Yuan can climb to the top without any worries. Lin Yuan hesitated a little. With his current strength, there is really no way he can step onto the tallest building and still have the energy to protect Chu Yu. But he was really worried that Chu Yu would participate in such a dangerous actual combat activity alone. But what? There's no need to worry about me. Chu Yu stuck out his tongue proudly and slightly playfully, instantly spreading his mental power. After sensing this mighty spiritual power, Lin Yuan was slightly startled, and subconsciously said, "The spiritual power of the 4th level peak. Yes, my current strength is not weaker than yours at all." Chu Yu smiled. "So, don't worry about me, just go and give it a try. I hope that after this event is over, I can see you on the highest floor." "I'll stand there." Lin Yuan nodded and spoke solemnly. Although he didn't know why Chu Yu suddenly became so strong after not seeing him for just 2 months. However, the Chu family is so powerful that nothing seems impossible. After all, a waste like Xu Shining can reach the realm of a 5th-level warrior with the support of his family. What else is impossible? Just now, under Lin Yuan's induction, Chu Yu's mental power was definitely above 25,000 kHz. With this level of mental power, one can definitely be called a 4th-level peak mental power user. Chu Yu has such strength, no matter whether he is qualified to ascend to the 3rd level or not. If he only protects himself on the 1st and 2nd levels, there will definitely be no problem. In this way, Lin Yuan felt much more relieved. "Okay, let's go quickly." Chu Yu withdrew his hand and said goodbye to Lin Yuan. "Well, be careful. If something happens, just press the distress button." After Lin Yuan said this, he turned around resolutely and followed the tide of people into the training building. "Hey, why are you squeezing? Don't blame me for taking action if you keep squeezing." A warrior who has not reached the 4th level yet talks so wildly. "Why don't you take the initiative and eliminate them, so that you can make some room for everyone? Stop talking nonsense. If you want to fight, wait until you get to the 2nd floor first." "You're right, you're shouting so arrogantly now. Don't wait until there is room, and everyone will become silent." For a total of 3,000 freshmen, even if the 1st floor of the training building is 2,000 square meters in size, it still seems a bit crowded. However, Lin Yuan knew it in his heart. All new students will rush to the 2nd level. At that time, the battle between the new students will really begin. Once the first group of people are eliminated, this place will be much more spacious and no longer so crowded. At this moment, a green figure suddenly jumped out from the crowd. "You are walking too slowly. I don't have the patience to wait, so please take the first step." Then, this cyan figure stepped on the heads of the freshmen and rushed towards the passage leading to the 2nd floor of the training building at an extremely fast speed. The people whose heads he stepped on all showed dissatisfaction, but no one dared to take action. Lin Yuan frowned slightly. Who is this guy? So arrogant. Soon, someone next to him answered Lin Yuan's question. Who dares to provoke that guy? He is Lin Tianan, the Blue Dragon Spear. He is a ruthless man who broke through to the 5th level of martial arts before the martial arts test. Lin Yuan understood. He broke through to the 5th level of martial arts before the martial arts test, and was even stronger than Shen Xiao. No wonder, this guy stepped on so many people's heads and rushed forward, but everyone dared to be angry and dare not speak out. However, Lin Yuan was not in a hurry. He will eventually go up, it's just a matter of sooner or later. Without strength, even if you reach the top, it will be in vain. Soon, most of the new students rushed to the second floor. Of course, there are many smart people who choose to stay where they are and recuperate. From their point of view, there is no need to work hard so early in the morning. Anyway, they have to stay in the training building until 8:15, wait until the last few minutes, and then rush to the third floor. They can still get rewards. However, Lin Yuan dismissed this kind of cleverness. In his opinion, martial arts must compete. Being opportunistic, you may be able to gain temporary benefits. But if you don't fight with others, you will always be left behind and stepped on by others. After the crowd thinned out a little, Lin Yuan walked directly along one of the passages and walked up to the second floor. Hey, there's a new person coming up again. It seems like one person came up. Is anyone interested? Old rules, find someone to go up to the southern passage and try the newcomer's water. The winner will stay, and the loser will get out. After Lin Yuan stepped onto the second floor, a burst of discussion soon rang in his ears. After listening for a while, he roughly understood what was going on. There are 4 passages in total, namely, southeast, northwest, and you can go to the second floor. What Lin Yuan just climbed up is the southern passage. In order to control the number of people on the second floor, a rule was spontaneously formed in the new life. The person who comes up now must accept the challenge of another person. Only the one who wins is qualified to stay on the second level. Let me try him. Then, before Lin Yuan could react, a burly figure came over with a knife, kicked his right leg suddenly on the ground, and slashed directly at the former. As for the sword in the opponent's hand, it is naturally a wooden sword. After all, swords made of alloy cannot be brought in here. Even the sword ordered by Lin Yuan was temporarily stored outside. When the opponent's sword suddenly struck, Lin Yuan showed no signs of panic. He instantly opened the 3 Magatama Sharingan and quickly saw through the flaw. Although the opponent's explosive power is very strong, he has found the wrong point of exertion. Furthermore, the most important thing is that judging from the explosive power of the opponent's energy and blood, this guy's strength is only at the level of a 3rd level peak warrior at best. A mere burst of energy and blood of nearly 10,000 calories was not worth mentioning in front of Lin Yuan now. I fire. Lin Yuan calmly uttered one word. Then, he stretched out and clamped the opponent's wooden knife forcefully. The burly young man in front of him had a horrified face. Even if he has no eyesight, he should understand that this time, he definitely kicked the steel plate. Click, wipe. Lin Yuan's fingers were slightly bent, and his strength exploded, instantly breaking the opponent's wooden sword. After the wooden sword was broken into 2 pieces, the momentum of the burly young man suddenly dropped. I won't do anything to you, just go down by yourself. Lin Yuan casually threw away the fragments of the wooden knife and spoke calmly. Thank you. The burly young man gritted his teeth, thanked him sincerely, and then walked down the passage in despair. Fortunately, Lin Yuan did not take the opportunity to attack him. Otherwise, not only would he be defeated, but he would also be completely disqualified after being injured, and would be taken directly out of the training building by the teacher guarding outside. Now, although he was temporarily forced to go downstairs, after waiting for a while, he might not be able to lose his footing if he came up from another passage. After all, the strength of the 3rd level peak warriors is barely mid-range among the new students of the Magic City Martial Arts University. The premise is, just don't run into a genius like Lin Yuan. After Lin Yuan showed his strength, no one around him finally dared to talk about him, and no one opened his mouth to find trouble. The man who was forced downstairs by Lin Yuan just now is named Zhou Yang, and he is a solid 3rd level peak warrior. He is only 1 step away from reaching Wenkachi and blood of a 4th level warrior. But even so, Lin Yuan still defeated him easily. Even with only 2 fingers, he took the opponent's full-strength sword. Such strength is terrifying. The man in front of me is definitely a 4th level warrior, and he is also the best among the 4th level warriors. At this moment, a choice suddenly popped up in front of Lin Yuan. Option 1. Completely shock everyone around you. Reward 5,000 blood points, 2,000 mental power, and one-time skill card, sneak attack. Option 2. Wear everything on your sleeves, walk in brocade clothes at night, keep a low profile, that's the best way to show off. Reward 1 point of blood and 1 point of mental strength. Lin Yuan, shit, keep a low profile. If you really wanted me to keep a low profile, would you give me such a cheating reward? Lin Yuan let out a long sigh. I also want to keep a low profile, but the system doesn't allow it. As for how to completely shock everyone, this is quite simple. As long as you defeat everyone in front of you and make them roll down the stairs, wouldn't this be considered a complete shock? Thinking of this, Lin Yuan silently stepped forward and looked around at everyone. Everyone, can you listen to me? After Lin Yuan spoke, the eyes of a dozen freshmen around him were all attracted to him. Lin Yuan thought for a while and said loudly, I'm not targeting anyone, I'm just saying that everyone here is rubbish. As soon as Lin Yuan said these words, everyone present fell silent. After everyone looked at each other in disbelief for a while, the atmosphere instantly became tense. You should know that although their strength may not be as strong as Lin Yuan, but since they can be admitted to the Magic City Wuhan University, at least, it means that they are definitely among the best in their previous schools. But Lin Yuan opened his mouth and immediately sorted their garbage. Everyone here. Are all rubbish. What an arrogant tone. Brothers, come on together. Just because you have some strength, do you think you are so powerful? Haha, I want to see how you can deal with a dozen of us by yourself. Do you have to pretend like that? Then go back to your first floor. For a time, more than a dozen people showed angry expressions on their faces, their blood and energy burst out, and they rushed directly towards Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was helpless. This is not just because I want to show off. It was obviously the system that forced me. However, since everyone is rushing towards them, Lin Yuan can only choose to fight. Everyone, I'm sorry. His Sharingan glanced across them, and he quickly had a rough idea of the strength of these people. There are 2 4th-level warriors, but they are just entering the 4th level. The rest are all warriors with strength around the late 3rd level. In that case, let's fight. Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed and he quickly locked onto a weaker 3rd-level warrior. You are the one. When the opponent punched him, Lin Yuan directly grabbed his arm. The other person's face was full of surprise. Because he clearly felt that Lin Yuan did not burst out with much strength at all, but he easily used clever force to relieve his strength. Not only that, the next second Lin Yuan grabbed his arm, he felt his body rising directly into the air. Lin Yuan forcibly picked him up and threw him horizontally like a human sandbag. Not good. The few people rushing at the front were unable to dodge and were directly hit. Lin Yuan did not stop. His steps moved slightly, like a ghost, and he ducked behind a 4th-level warrior. Sorry, take a nap. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yuan dropped another hand knife and struck the opponent's neck, causing him to fall into a coma. Even if they are both 4th-level warriors, there is still a difference in strength. A warrior who has just entered the 4th level has a maximum energy and blood of between 10,000 and 15,000. But Lin Yuan's current vitality and blood have reached more than 22,000 points. Between the two, the difference in energy and blood alone is nearly doubled. Not to mention, Lin Yuan can also see the opponent's weaknesses through the Sharingan. So, the warriors who have just entered the 4th level, in front of Lin Yuan, still cannot escape the fate of being killed instantly. The advantages of the Sharingan were fully exploited in the chaotic battle. Many warriors may have only experienced one-on-one sparring. There is no experience at all in melee battles involving more than 10 people. But Lin Yuan didn't need to take this into consideration at all. Even though he has no experience in melee fighting, in his eyes, everyone's movements are slowed down by several tenths. Everyone's offensive intentions were clearly understood by Lin Yuan. At this point, Lin Yuan has completely mastered the rhythm of the battle. His figure is like a wandering soul, shuttling between the people wantonly. Let alone attacking Lin Yuan, no one could even touch the corners of his clothes. In just 5 minutes, all the dozen or so people in front of him were eliminated by Lin Yuan. However, his attack was not too severe, and the people lying on the ground were only slightly injured at best. Even those who were knocked unconscious by him could wake up in a few minutes at most. After all, these people did not provoke him, but others who he took the initiative to provoke, so Lin Yuan was very measured when he made his move. After experiencing such a chaotic battle, Lin Yuan felt refreshed all over, as if the meridians all over his body had been stretched. However, if Lin Yuan does not have the help of Sharingan, he can defeat them one by one. Just relying on his 23,000 points of energy and blood, I am afraid that he may not be able to defeat the dozen or so people in front of him. Moreover, when I entered the battlefield, I forgot to pick out a wooden sword that I had handy, so now I can't even use the 7 Ju sword styles. Sigh, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have acted so cool just now. What do you want to play with 2-finger knives? Wouldn't it be better to just grab the wooden sword from the opponent's hand? Lin Yuan regretted it so much that he wished he could slap himself. At the same time, the prompt for completion of selection also sounded in his ears. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the choice. You will be rewarded with 5,000 points of vitality, 2,000 points of mental power, and the one-time skill card, Sneak Attack. When the system prompts fell, Lin Yuan felt a surge of energy and blood like a long river pouring into his body, and even became invisible and had the potential to hit the level. Because, after receiving the reward of 5,000 points of Qi and blood, Lin Yuan's own Qi and blood strength reached 28,000 points. He is only one step away from the 5th level warrior. If the choice can be triggered again, Lin Yuan will almost be able to completely enter the ranks of 5th level warriors. It's just that the triggering of the selection system is too random, and Lin Yuan doesn't know when he will be able to trigger the option again. By the way, there's also that one-time skill card. Lin Yuan suddenly thought of it and took out the skill card called Sneak Attack from the system space. Skill card, Shadow Strike. Category, Disposable Skill Card. Introduction. This skill can only be used after the host enters the stealth state. It can make the next blow explode with 300% power. After reading the introduction of this skill card, a smile appeared on Lin Yuan's face. This skill card can be used in conjunction with his Melting Night ability. After blending into the darkness through the night melting ability, Lin Yuan entered a state of stealth. In this case, he can just launch a shadow attack, which can cause a fatal blow to the enemy. After Lin Yuan took action and defeated more than a dozen people in a row, the freshmen around him did not dare to provoke him anymore. Even the look towards Lin Yuan showed a bit of fear. In their opinion, a fierce man like Lin Yuan, even if he is not a 5th level warrior, is at least a late 4th level or peak 4th level warrior. Once provoked, you will be sent back to the 1st floor, or you will be directly disqualified from participating in the event. However, a little further away, someone was watching him secretly with a malicious look. The owner of this gaze is none other than Xu Shining. At this moment, he is also staying on the 2nd floor. Moreover, in addition to himself, there were 5 or 6 warriors with surging energy and blood beside him. The weakest one also has the strength of a mid-level 4th order warrior. The strongest one has even reached the level of a 5th level warrior. After seeing Lin Yuan, Xu Shining frowned at first. This guy, why isn't he dead yet? That fellow Ying Laogui, didn't you agree to send a killer yesterday to kill this kid? Could it be said that the killer responsible for assassinating Lin Yuan made a mistake? Xu Shining looked gloomy, and the more he thought about it, the more he thought it was possible. You know, Lin Yuan was with Chu Yu yesterday. If you attack forcefully, you will most likely be killed by the warriors secretly protecting Chu Yu. This guy, Old Ghost Ying, is really a useless piece of trash. Can't even handle such a small matter well. Xu Shining's eyes flickered. He was too lazy to figure out what was going on. He planned to take this opportunity to give Lin Yuan a first blow. Thinking of this, Xu Shining turned around, looked at a tall young man with black hair, and said, "Zhang Chong, go meet him. Remember, don't reveal that I sent you. If conditions permit, give him a small lesson, even a flesh wound." In front of Xu Shining, the tall young man named Zhang Chong immediately lit up. Since Mr. Xu has spoken in person, it proves that there is a lot of grudge between that guy and Mr. Xu. Looking at it this way, here's your chance to show off. As long as you can defeat that kid cleanly and give him a good lesson, you will be able to win Master Xu's favor. If you fall into Mr. Xu's eyes, you can count as joining the Xu family. For a behemoth like the Xu family, just giving him some resources can ensure that his future martial arts will be smooth sailing. Thinking of this, Zhang Chong smiled evilly and said, "Young Master Xu, I'll be back as soon as I go." After saying that, Zhang Chong stepped forward and walked towards Lin Yuan with rapid strides. Xu Xining's eyes were cold. His own martial arts cultivation level was forcibly improved by relying on resources. But after all, he was born in a famous family, and his vision was natural. He could easily tell that Lin Yuan's energy level was definitely lower than that of a 5th-level warrior. So, just to be on the safe side, the Zhang Chong he sent out was a real 5th-level warrior. A body of energy and blood, up to 35,000 points. Lin Yuan, aren't you crazy enough? I want to see it, this time. How can you show it to me? At the same time that Xu Xining noticed him, Lin Yuan also saw 3 familiar figures. Lin Yuan, you are here too. From a distance away, Chen Ji waved her hand towards him. The 3 figures in front of me are none other than Shen Xiao, Chen Ji and Yun Tingting. Lin Yuan spent an afternoon wandering around Wudu, the magical capital, and did not encounter the 3 of them, but he happened to meet them here. Some things are really interesting. Yun Tingting pretended to be angry and said, you didn't know to contact us when you came. Lin Yuan smiled and said, I contacted you. Aren't your mobile phones all turned off? Ah, it's all Chen Ji's fault. Speaking of this, Yun Tingting rolled her eyes at Chen Ji angrily. Lin Yuan asked in confusion, what happened to him? Shen Xiao explained, he was late for the opening ceremony again. We accompanied him to the academic affairs office and deducted 30 credits. We didn't even have time to return to the dormitory. Lin Yuan, you are so awesome. It's okay to be late at ordinary times, but I dare to be late even for the opening ceremony. This 30-cent deduction is directly equivalent to the 250,000 yuan earned during the summer vacation. Even Chen Ji scratched his head in embarrassment, didn't I oversleep? At this moment, a short-haired young man strode over, stretched out his hand directly towards Lin Yuan, and asked calmly, classmate, can I get to know you? Lin Yuan pointed at himself, with a look of surprise on his face. If he remembered correctly, he probably didn't know the person in front of him. Yes, it's you. The young man with an inch hair grinned and showed a bright smile. His idea is very simple. As long as Lin Yuan dares to shake hands with him, he will instantly burst out all the energy and blood in his body and directly crush the opponent's right hand. His own qi and blood are very high. 35,000 points of qi and blood burst out. Not to mention that the opponent is defenseless. Even if he is prepared, as long as he succeeds, the short-haired young man will be confident. Explode the opponent's hand bones. This move has been tried repeatedly by the short-haired young man, and he has used it to deal with at least 4 or 5 people. Furthermore, although Wang's online did not allow them to maliciously injure people during actual combat activities, the school should not pursue any minor injuries such as a burst bone in the hand that would not cause life-threatening injuries. Even if he is investigated, Mr. Xu will help him reduce the big problem to a trivial matter. Once the trivial matter is trivialized, there is no need to worry at all. Looking at the outstretched hand of the short-haired young man in front of him, Lin Yuan frowned and began to hesitate. He felt that the person in front of him seemed to have bad intentions. No, not a feeling. Instead, select the system and the prompt has been given. Option 1. When shaking hands, stronger energy and blood will burst out to shock the opponent. Reward 2,000 points of vitality and blood and 2,000 points of mental power. Option 2. Refuse to shake hands and leave the other party alone. Reward 1,000 points of vitality and blood, and 1,000 points of mental power. If the other party has no ill intentions. Selecting the system, how can you choose to burst out with stronger energy and blood to shock the opponent? In Lin Yuan's opinion, the person in front of him was either sent by Xu Xining. Otherwise, it's just that he is unhappy and that's why he wants to come over to make trouble. All in all, the other party must have bad intentions. Moreover, the second possibility is extremely slim. After all, we haven't reached the 3rd floor yet, who would cause trouble so early? After thinking about this, Lin Yuan crossed his arms across his chest and looked at the short-haired young man in front of him with a sneer, without any intention of extending his hand. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully making the choice. You will be rewarded with 1,000 points of vitality and 1,000 points of mental power. Lin Yuan would choose to do this, naturally not without reason. Although the reward of the second option is not as generous as the first one, it is more secure. You must know that when Lin Yuan fought against more than a dozen people by himself just now, he showed the strength of a 4th-level peak warrior at least. Since the other party dares to reach out in this situation, it means that he is absolutely fully prepared. In this case, Lin Yuan would have no need to take this risk. Instead of being controlled by others, it is better to let others be controlled by yourself. Seeing that Lin Yuan was unwilling to reach out, the expression of the short-haired young man suddenly turned gloomy. What do you mean? Look down on me. Lin Yuan smiled and asked, then what do you mean? The young man with an inch hair narrowed his eyes and stared at him with an evil look. It's not interesting, just leave it to a friend. Lin Yuan asked with a smile, is it really just about making friends? Seeing that his purpose was revealed, the short-haired young man stopped being polite. He licked the corner of his mouth and said viciously, what if? I can't kill you here, can I? Lin Yuan did not answer, still looking at the other party with a smile. It seems, this guy finally couldn't bear it anymore and was going to break up. At this moment, a figure stopped in front of Lin Yuan, stretched out his right hand, and held it with the short-haired young man in front of him. Since we are making friends, it's better for me to make friends with you. The person standing in front of Lin Yuan was none other than Shen Xiao. He stretched out his right hand with an indifferent expression. The young man with an inch hair was slightly startled at first, and then a fierce look flashed in his eyes. His intentions have been seen through by Lin Yuan, but he didn't expect that a fool would come to his door. In this case, you can't blame yourself. I'll deal with you first, and then I'll attack Lin Yuan. Okay then, let's make a friend. The young man with an inch head grabbed Shen Xiao's hand, and the energy and blood in his right arm suddenly burst out. He squeezed the opponent's right hand with force like a bull. He is confident enough that under his grasp, the opponent's hand bones will soon break apart. However, what the short-haired young man did not expect was that under his full grip, the opponent's right hand did not move at all. He frowned in confusion and looked down subconsciously. Then, he quickly discovered that the opponent's palm was actually covered with a blood-red thin film of qi and blood. The face of the young man with an inch hair suddenly changed. You are releasing your energy and blood, are you also a 5th-level warrior? Shen Xiao nodded expressionlessly. The answer is correct, but unfortunately there is no prize. In the next moment, Shen Xiao used lightning speed to hold the right hand of the short-haired young man with his backhand. The power of his energy and blood also burst out, and he suddenly used force to hold it. A sharp pain came, and the short-haired young man took a deep breath. He felt as if the bones of his hand were almost dislocated under Shen Xiao's sudden grip. I have been hunting eagles all year round, but my eyes were pecked out by geese after all. The young man with an inch hair never expected that Shen Xiao's qi and blood strength was actually higher than his. Shen Xiao smiled faintly and said, how about it? Do you still want to be my friend? The young man with an inch head pulled his hand away, endured the severe pain, and said harshly, okay, very good, you are cruel enough. Then, the short-haired young man left without looking back. He obviously didn't expect that beside Lin Yuan, there would be a fierce man who could release qi and blood. The round of handshakes just now, although not a head-to-head confrontation, still made him feel frightened. According to his estimation, Shen Xiao's energy and blood strength can reach at least 40,000 points. Otherwise, with the toughness of his bones, it is absolutely impossible for Shen Xiao to pinch him out of position. Since he can't even pass Shen Xiao's test, he doesn't even have to think about dealing with Lin Yuan. After the short-haired young man left, Shen Xiao came over and said, I've settled it for you. Lin Yuan smiled. Thank you very much, I owe you another favor. Shen Xiao also smiled. There is no need to be so clear-cut between us. Makes sense. Lin Yuan nodded and changed the subject. By the way, when are you going to go to the 3rd floor? Let's wait a little longer until the people on the 2nd floor are almost stabilized, and then we can go up together. Good, Lin Yuan replied, then turned to the other 2 people, what about you? Chen Ji grinned and said, Yun Tingting and I won't go up. The 3rd floor is too dangerous and cannot be broken by people of our level. Yun Tingting nodded in agreement. Yes, we'd better stay on the 2nd floor. No matter what, we can still get some credits. In this case, I won't force you. Shen Xiao didn't force it. With the strength of Chen Ji and Yun Tingting, it was definitely more than enough to stay on the second floor. But once you reach the third level, without the strength of a peak fourth level or even fifth level warrior, it is absolutely impossible to gain a foothold. After Chen Ji finished speaking, he glanced at Lin Yuan slightly enviously. Once upon a time, Lin Yuan was just an insignificant existence in his eyes that could be discussed at will. At that time, in the eyes of everyone, Lin Yuan might not even be able to defeat Hong Dingtian. But how much time has passed, in their subconscious, Lin Yuan has become a being who can stand side by side with Shen Xiao. Trash, trash, Xu Shining frowned, and his eyes immediately darkened when he looked at the short-haired young man. A dignified fifth-level warrior couldn't even defeat a mere fourth-level freshman. The young man with an inch hair covered his right hand with a misaligned hand bone and stood beside Xu Shining without saying a word. He didn't make any excuses, because he knew that Xu Shining had actually seen the previous scene and knew that someone had taken action to relieve Lin Yuan. It's just that Xu Shining is angry now and needs to find someone to vent his anger. Master Xu, do we still want to attack that kid? At this moment, another person approached Xu Shining and asked softly. Xu Shining pondered for a moment and said, if that kid stays on the second floor, just ignore him. But, if he dares to go to the third floor, then I don't need to say more about what you should do, right? Clear. After everyone responded, Xu Shining nodded with satisfaction and said, okay, let's go upstairs now and take a seat first. After Xu Shining went upstairs, Lin Yuan quickly noticed him out of the corner of his eyes. The short-haired young man from before happened to be right next to him. It seems that my previous guess was correct. This guy was sent by Xu Shining to test or suppress him. If Shen Xiao hadn't come to the rescue, Lin Yuan might have had a hard time dealing with that guy. After all, Lin Yuan is still far away from becoming a fifth-level warrior. With the addition of the Sharingan, Melting Knight, and the 7 Ju sword styles, he may be able to explode into fifth-level combat power. More and more people are walking up to the third floor, but few are coming down from it. Lin Yuan knew in his heart that those who reached the third level would either gain a firm foothold or be directly eliminated. The third situation rarely happened. By the way, Lin Yuan, after you get to the third floor, you can blow up the lights on the ceiling first. While everyone was recuperating, Chen Ji suddenly came over and said with a smile. Lin Yuan was slightly startled. Why? At first he subconsciously thought that Chen Ji asked him to blow up the lamp so that he could act better. But then I thought about it, Chen Ji didn't seem to know at all. He had the power of Melting Knight. Chen Ji didn't shy away from it and said directly, do you still remember that Shen Xiao was ranked first on the heavenly ranking? What was his title? Lin Yuan was slightly startled. With the title of everyone who was qualified to be on the Junhai third middle school ranking. Yun Tingting is called the Eye of the Phantom Moon, and Chen Ji is called the Martial Madman. Even Hong Dingtian and Guan Shang, who are slightly later in the sequence, have their own titles. As for Lin Yuan, it was purely because he had been on the list for too short a time, and no one had yet come up with a suitable title for him. And Shen Xiao's title seems to be Yi Shura. To be honest, Lin Yuan still doesn't know what the meaning of this title is. So, Lin Yuan asked directly, what happened to Shen Xiao's title? Shen Xiao is called Yeshura. Chen Ji chuckled. Don't you understand now? Shen Xiao's superpower is related to the night. Lin Yuan was stunned for a moment, and finally came to his senses. In other words, Shen Xiao's superpower can only be activated in darkness. Chen Ji scratched his head and quickly grasped the key point in Lin Yuan's sentence. Lin Yuan, what do you mean? Nothing, just a slip of the tongue. Lin Yuan didn't know how to explain, so he could only prevaricate casually. He really didn't expect that Shen Xiao's superpower was also related to the night. Before this, Shen Xiao had never shown his special abilities. However, during their previous interactions with Shen Xiao, they seemed to have never experienced fighting at night. At this moment, Shen Xiao stood up and said calmly, it's almost time, it's time to set off. Walk. Lin Yuan did not hesitate and directly followed Shen Xiao's pace and walked towards the third floor. After boarding the passage, the two people quickly reached the top floor of the training building. Compared to this level, the second level just now can be said to be a quiet paradise. As soon as they reached this level, they saw hundreds of new warriors fighting with each other. You must know that those who can finally gain a foothold on the third level will be able to share a full 6,000 points. If there is only one person on the third level, that person will have 6,000 points to himself. Even if 50 people share it, each person can get at least 300 points. This is equivalent to 3 million. So, the fewer people who stay on the third floor, the better. Those who have no strength but want to fish in troubled waters must all be eliminated. Someone else is coming up. Let's go over and deal with those two people. Lin Yuan and Shen Xiao had just stood still when a loud shout rang in their ears. Several fourth-level warriors with surging energy and blood immediately showed fierce looks on their faces and came towards them to kill them. You are responsible for the 3 on the left, and I am responsible for the 4 on the right. Shen Xiao said calmly, and the energy and blood all over his body suddenly released, forming a scarlet energy blood armor, and he rushed towards the 4 people on the right without hesitation. 3 fourth-level warriors, really think highly of me. Lin Yuan smiled helplessly. Since Shen Xiao had already assigned him a task, he had no choice but to do it. Brother, borrow a knife. Lin Yuan's eyes soon fell on a warrior holding a wooden sword. It's true, if you feel like dozing off, just give yourself a pillow. He took a step forward, pressed forward forcefully, and slashed the opponent's wrist with a hand knife. The latter's wrist trembled, and the wooden sword was forced to come out. Lin Yuan took advantage of the situation and picked up the wooden knife. Without any courtesy, he kicked the opponent 4 or 5 meters away. Taking advantage of this gap, 2 more people came directly to double-team him from left to right. Lin Yuan did not hesitate and suddenly drew the sword. 7 moves of the Ju Dao, the wind and the remaining clouds. The sword comes out like a swimming dragon, swift and powerful yet heavy. The 2 of them were unable to retreat, and were directly hit in the chest by the knife. They staggered back a few steps, and then managed to stabilize their bodies. Although these 3 people are 4th-level warriors, they have extremely little actual combat experience. It seems that they have never experienced a life-and-death fight. To deal with them, Lin Yuan didn't even need to use his Sharingan. He could easily find the flaws of these people based on his own experience. Within 5 minutes, Lin Yuan knocked all 3 people in front of him to the ground. At the same time, the battle on Shen Xiao's side was almost coming to an end. Boom! Shen Xiao threw him over his shoulder and knocked the last person to the ground, making a muffled sound. Is everything solved? Lin Yuan looked at the 4 new warriors who fell to the ground and said with a smile. Shen Xiao nodded and said, with the strength of these people, they are not qualified to stay on the 3rd floor. They have probably been in a group from the beginning. Lin Yuan smiled. Indeed. Although these people in front of me are considered to be above average among freshmen, they are really not good enough in front of the real martial arts prodigies. Shen Xiao alone is enough to defeat 4 enemies. If they weren't in a group, these people wouldn't be able to get to the 3rd level just based on their strength. After Shen Xiao and Lin Yuan teamed up to deal with these 7 people, the eyes of everyone around them softened slightly, apparently temporarily recognizing their strength. The more powerful and capital you have, the more others will put it behind to solve the problem. At the very least, no one would think of targeting them until the official clearance came. However, just because no one is targeting them, it doesn't mean that Lin Yuan and the others won't take the initiative to target others. Lin Yuan has not yet avenged the short-haired young man who took the initiative to stir up trouble. The most important thing is that options appeared in front of him again. Option 1. Take the initiative and sweep Xu Xining and all his men out of the training building. Reward: 5,000 blood points, 2,000 mental power, and a random devil fruit. Option 2. Stay where you are and wait for the actual combat assessment to end. Reward: 3,000 blood points, 1,000 spiritual power, and a skill upgrade book. After seeing the options in front of him, Lin Yuan chose the first one without hesitation. It's not because of how generous the reward of the first option is, but because Lin Yuan is a very grudge-bearing person. The revenge he wants to take will never take place overnight. Xu Xining found a killer to assassinate him, which had already touched Lin Yuan's bottom line. This time, he asked his men to come over to provoke him. If Lin Yuan can still hold back and not take action, then he is not Lin Yuan. Thinking of this, Lin Yuan turned his head directly to Shen Xiao and said softly, "How about it? Do you want to do something big? Shen Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly. What's the big one? Lin Yuan directly signaled with his eyes, making Shen Xiao pay attention to Xu Xining's side. Did you see them? That's the person who came to provoke me just now. Since they are enemies, we might as well attack them first and sweep them out. Shen Xiao looked in the direction of Xu Xining. There are 8 people on their side, including Xu Xining. Among them, there were 3 5th-level warriors, including Xu Xining and the short-haired young man whose hand bones were broken by Shen Xiao. The remaining 5 people are all outstanding among the 4th-level warriors. Just from their aura, Shen Xiao could clearly feel that these people were different from the native chickens and dogs they had dealt with before. However, it can be said that those who are qualified to serve Xu Xining must have some ability. It seems that the Sujia brand is really a gold-lettered brand, and it is loud enough. Xu Xining has only just entered school, and yet so many outstanding students among the new students have gathered around him to work for him. After pondering for a while, Shen Xiao said leisurely, "You are really brave. 3 5th-level warriors and 5 late 4th-level warriors. This strength alone is almost 3 times theirs. After all, he and Lin Yuan combined were only a 5th-level warrior and a 4th-level peak warrior." However, Lin Yuan smiled casually. "Wealth and honor come from danger. As long as we can sweep them out, no one on this 3rd floor will dare to provoke us." Shen Xiao also laughed. "That's true. In fact, in this 3rd level, although Xu Xining's power is large, it is not so large that no one can clear them out. The reason why no one caused trouble for them was entirely because of the relationship between the Xu family. No one wants to offend Xu Xining, the young master of the Xu family, because of such an event. Since he wants to bring people to the 3rd level to get a share of the pie, and his strength is decent, let him get a share." But now, Lin Yuan and Shen Xiao are so crazy that they are planning to attack Xu Xining and the others. Seeing that Shen Xiao acquiesced to his plan, Lin Yuan immediately asked, "How many are you sure you can deal with? Have you seen those lights above? Before you take action, smash them all. I can help you contain the 2 5th-level warriors except Xu Xining. If you still have some energy left, I will also help you contain the remaining 4th-level warriors." Shen Xiao raised his head, glanced at the light above his head, and spoke calmly. Lin Yuan was horrified. Has Shen Xiao decided to activate his special ability? Furthermore, judging from Shen Xiao's tone, after activating his superpower, he was even able to fight 1 against 2. You must know that although those 2 people may be weaker than Shen Xiao in terms of energy and blood level, they are still real 5th-level warriors. What exactly is this guy's superpower? How could Shen Xiao be so confident? Before Lin Yuan could ask any questions, Shen Xiao spoke again. "What about you? Can you be responsible for getting rid of Xu Xining and the remaining people?" "It's a trivial matter." Lin Yuan grinned. He is just a qi and blood warrior who relies purely on medicine. Even if he is a 5th-level warrior, what is the difference between him and a waste? And, I also have my support. Shen Xiao nodded. That's good. Of course he wouldn't be stupid enough to confront these people head-on. What Lin Yuan relies on now is the supernatural power, Melting Night. As long as he wants, he can blend into the darkness anytime and anywhere and defeat his opponents 1 by 1. It really doesn't work. He still has the one-time skill card, Sneak Attack, in his hand. Skill cards with such a powerful effect are simply overkill when used against a pseudo-level 5 player like Xu Xining. If I'm ready, I'll do it. Lin Yuan licked the corner of his mouth. After receiving a positive reply from Shen Xiao, he directly picked up a wooden sword from the ground. Then, he gently folded it into several pieces. The show is finally about to begin. Lin Yuan flicked his wrist and shot out the pieces of wood in his hand like darts. These fragments drew several extremely precise arcs in the air, and finally, perfectly hit the incandescent lamp on the roof. For a moment, all the lights went out in an instant. The entire 3rd floor was completely plunged into darkness. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.